Welcome race fans to Pit Stop TV. As usual, we're live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch tonight. Noah Carmichael and Trey Shuttlesworth are with me in the booth. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is Pit Stop TV's live coverage of the Galaxy Cup Series in the Pits News 350. We join you tonight from the virtual Napa Valley, California for race 16 of 36 in the season. When you think of Napa, California, you likely think of vineyards, wine tasting, and breathtaking scenery. Unless you're a race fan. When we think of Napa, we think of brutal curves, slick corners, dramatic rises and falls, and thrilling action. Purchased by Speedway Motorsports Incorporated in 1996, Sonoma Raceway annually features some of NASCAR's closest, roughest, and most exciting road course racing. Also having been featured on schedules for series like IndyCar, AMA, and NHRA, Sonoma is well known for pushing cars and drivers to and beyond their breaking points. Tonight, the Galaxy Cup Series will do so virtually as they think outside the oval for the first time in 2020.
Time usually when this grass grows and it's a beautiful luxurious green, but sadly most series aren't able to race here because the weather is too cold. But it's just a really nicely placed racetrack. To one end of the racetrack, I believe it's north, you got the Napa Valley, and to the south you have San Francisco, or I believe it's the other way around. At least it's one of the ways. It's one of the more luxurious racetracks on the schedule for many people. It's kind of like taking the redneck south of NASCAR and placing it in the luxurious F1 style life that is the Sonoma Raceway. And it's just a perfectly timed weekend with what should have been Le Mans this weekend, now virtual Le Mans, now having their race right now. At the same time, now we have NASCAR on one of its more popular road courses on the schedule, so it's just a very perfectly timed race to see these great drivers try to combat these twisty, tight, blinding corners and make up Sonoma Raceway.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely be happy to see this return to the NASCAR schedule, hopefully for the 2021 season. But no, we're just at an absolutely excellent circuit for stock cars just because of all the elevation changes, a lot of variance in corner types. It's a little difficult to pass here, but it's an absolute ball to drive in a stock car. So yeah, tonight we're going to go around the circuit for 90 laps. These guys are in the low downforce package tonight, as opposed to the high downforce package that NASCAR utilized last year. So these guys are going to have a small spoiler, a lot of horsepower, and they're going to have to really wrestle with their 3,600-pound stock car over... It's a little hard to determine the amount of turns here because they're labeled a little awkwardly, but somewhere around 13 or 14 turns. A lot of bends, some hairpins. Going to be a fun time tonight.
Absolutely. So as we get ready to go racing, we do have some qualifying, of course, to go through first. And sorry, having to deal with some stuff on the back end here. But I do want to quickly highlight the points battle coming into tonight. It's not so much of a points battle, but just how things are looking as we draw closer and closer to the Galaxy Cup Series playoffs starting up this fall. Bryson Hixenbaugh, of course, with his 7 wins on the season, still leading the way dominantly. But Eric Wineland, Preston McRae, Derek Conley, they are just behind him. Kevin Steele, Cameron Stone, and Jonathan Delaney, they also have 1 win, but 1 less playoff point. And then you just have everybody vying for points. Now, we've been seeing one certain driver, Eddie Kerner, win the last few weeks. He is not eligible for the playoffs. He missed too many races, came in the season a little bit too late, so we don't see him on this list. But still have to talk about some of these guys who I really think Christopher Hammond, for example, is making some serious headway, getting very, very close to that first win, and could use a night like tonight, a road course, to try and get that first win on the season to lock himself into the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Hammond have 2 rough weeks prior to Michigan, and then the Michigan just came out with the top 5 finish that he really needed and that he was looking for the past week since we started broadcasting here. So he was very happy to get that, and it just shows you how much of a turnaround he is. He's sitting. There's a reason why he's the first man out without a win on points. He's really good, but just had two bad first races, and then turned it all around to Michigan, and it just proves how fast he is. But a guy you want to watch for is that 162 of Zach Probst. He's had a couple rough weeks, not the finish he wants, especially trying to go after a playoff position here in the Galaxy Cup Series. He comes into a track where the smallest mistake ruins your race, so he's going to be very careful in the number 162 to not wreck that car and to try and bring home the best finish he can. Looking down the order, he's running a San Diego Padres car. I thought he was maybe a California native, but the sponsor is, but he's not. So it's a little bit riding on the line for the state team that he has on that car over here today.
What I like out of the 162 as well is the fact that he ran pretty consistently in practice. He slotted near the back end of the top 10, and that's really all you need to stay in contention at a track like Sonoma. Of course, it is really difficult to pass here, so track position is going to be absolutely key, but likewise, it's very easy to go off track here. Unlike a lot of the European FIA, grade A circuits, I think that's how they work. It's either like grade 1 or grade A. Not a lot of runoff here, even at portions of the circuit that were meant to accommodate NASCAR stock cars. There's only a few corners with a lot of runoff, so any off-track excursions are going to be punished pretty harshly. And then once you get behind guys that maybe you're quicker than them, but not by much, it's going to be very difficult to overtake, especially at the back end of the circuit where we have a lot of twisty lefts and rights, where you do have to slow down slightly, but it's not enough to where you can overtake, and it really tends to stretch out the field. This is one of the best places on circuit as we ride on board here to make an overtake happen as we head down into the hairpin of turn 7. As you head down that straightaway, that utilizes a part of the drag strip. It's one of two really good overtaking places. The other is turn 11, the iconic hairpin coming back to the start-finish line at Sonoma.
Sonoma is just full of surprises, great corners, and great challenges, and of course, great passing opportunities. Watching some drivers qualify right now will even pull up your leaderboard as these guys get some times down. Right now, Eddie Kerner, of course, no surprise, leading the way. Dallas Pataski, we were on board with him for a moment as he came down the carousel. He's currently sitting second. Bryson Hixenbaugh, we're on board with him now. He is sitting in third place. So already, I think a lot of what we usually see in the Galaxy Cup Series, not a whole lot is changing despite these guys thinking outside the oval this evening. I love that. I love that line for Sonoma Raceway. And these guys taking to some left and some rights. Nothing changing, though. We still see the top three that I think we've seen the last couple of weeks since they've all come into the series. Eddie Kerner, Dallas Pataska, and Bryson Hixenbaugh, of course, with his 7 wins in the season. Now going back to Cam Caldwell. He's actually 4th place right now in qualifying, and he's looking pretty stout as well. We got Logan Simmons mixing it up into the top 5 right now. Cameron Stone, Jonathan Delaney, Cody Goza, Randy Drumhiller sitting 9th, and Christopher Hammond sitting 10th.
Yeah, this is a track where a lot of drivers who aren't that great on the ovals, who don't succeed as well, can really try to prove their worth. This is something that a lot of NASCAR teams or fans for a long while up until recent years we're looking forward to, because it's where the road course ringers came out, like Boris said. Trying to think of the name of the Chevrolet GTLM driver who comes here. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but there's so many drivers that come here that run the Endurance Series or run IndyCar and the Open Wheel Series, and they come here. AJ Allmendinger comes to mind as well. Patrick Carpentier, Max Pappas, people who are used to running these tight, bendy racetracks, or even short track ringers like Matt Benedetto, they really seem to succeed on tracks like this. It really opens up a whole nother door for a possibility to get there, to try and get that win, to lock yourself into the playoffs, because this is one of the tracks where having the fastest engine, the most horsepower doesn't get you wins. Just having the perfect setup, being able to run those right lines is what gets it done. So patience is key for a track like this. Is where you usually see a lot of those road course ringers who don't have the best cars or have the best talent come out and actually get to shine and show their worth in NASCAR, and we might be able to see some of that shine out here in the Galaxy Cup Series.
Yeah, no, one of the reasons I think that road course ringers don't excel as much as they used to, and at least, in terms of NASCAR stock car racing, is just the fact that the NASCAR Cup Series regulars have become very excellent in terms of being able to adjust their abilities to road courses. Names that come to mind for me are Martin Truex Jr., even guys like in the Xfinity Series such as Austin Cindric, guys that just excel because they become more multi-disciplined in terms of their driving abilities. And, I think we're kind of seeing that here too. Eddie Kerner's at the top of the board. Pataska and Hixenbaugh are also at the top of the board here. These are guys that have shown that, hey, they're pretty good on the ovals, but they can also make it work here as you go left and right, round and round. Still in a clockwise manner. I believe this is clockwise circuit. Or actually, well, left turn circuits are counterclockwise, but my point is.
So as qualifying begins to wrap up, you see the times not changing very much. I do want to give thanks to a couple of partners this week. Of course, we usually have Whiplash Media on board, but we have somebody new that we get to thank tonight, and that is going to be Permanent Makeup in Maine. We'll get their logo up here in just a moment. I know where it is. There we go. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. Here at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, ABillion, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized service. If you're looking for the best solutions for your PMU concerns, give us a call today to book a consultation. Ashley prides herself on providing individualized, superior cosmetic services using only the state-of-the-art technologies and completely vegan pigments. However, what truly distinguishes Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine as a leader in the beauty treatment industry is our passion for helping people and an unwavering commitment to our clients throughout the entire procedure process. Love of beauty is taste, the creation of beauty is art. You can contact us at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call text us at 207-358-8683. Again, that is 207-358-8683. If you visit our Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, you will see that we do monthly giveaways. If you submit your entry, who knows, you just might win. We also, of course, want to give thanks to Whiplash Media, Pit Stop TV's new parent organization. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com. And of course, all of our cameras, every race that we broadcast, brought to you by Whiplash Media. So if you like what you're seeing, especially with some of our onboards, you can contact them and get a hold of these cameras yourself. It just might help you get some nice pictures or what have you. In fact, we'll go to some of those onboards as we're riding with Tommy Amos right now. He tries to put a qualifying time down, and actually he runs out of time. So kind of bad timing there, but we'll go ahead and, of course, run down your grid then for the top 10. I'll turn it over to Noah Carmichael.
Absolutely, starting on pole to no surprise whatsoever. The 98 of Eddie Kerner trying to make it through in a row. We're lining up on the outside pole sitters. We're going to find out 23 of Dallas Pataska. He's had two good runs that have ended up in poor results. He's looking to turn that around. Bryson Hickspawn is 63. Lines up third. He's on the inside of row number 2. On the outside of him is the number 11 Alex Montanelli, who's making his first appearance since the Coke 600. Lining up 4th and 5th is where you're going to find Dakota Nolan in 36 and Cam Caldwell in the 12. 7th and 8th is where you're going to find Logan Simmons and Cameron Stone. 8th and 9th is where you're going to find... I'm probably reading this wrong here. Yeah, 7th and 8th is where you're going to find Cam Caldwell. Is where you're going to find Logan Simmons in the 75 and Cameron Stone in the 57. And then rounding out your top 10 is going to be Jonathan Delaney, number 6, and Randy Drumhiller in number 30.
So Cody Goza made it clear in the Discord chat of the Galaxy Cup Series that he did load in with the right manufacturer tonight. He'll line up in P11. Christopher Hammond, after his top 5 run last week, he's going to line up in P12 if I am reading timing scoring correctly. Brendan Pierce will be inside of row 7 in the 13th position. He'll be out partnered with Dave Fusion on the outside. Newcomer to the series, Chris A. Wood, will be making his second start in the series, and then in the 16th position will be series regular Jeremy Morrison after he had a strong run early at Michigan last week. Eric Wineland, he's normally near the top of the leaderboard. He's going to have some climbing to do. He'll line up in P17 tonight alongside Daniel Fields, a series regular. And then we go back to row 10. Jason S. Taylor, also newer to the series, and then Nolan Hodgson will line up P20.
21st gives us teammates Josh Coppernell and Brian Mabry in the 42 and 3 cars. Then it's Rich Petrucco in 23rd, Alan Hewitt 24th, Patrick Mucci, I believe is how you pronounce that, in 25th, Kevin Steele to his outside, or rather to his right side, in 26th. Tommy Amos in the number 28 does not get a qualifying time down. He'll start 27th. Wayne Grassi, we've been talking about him recently, but not last week, actually. I don't believe he was one of the front runners. Man, so many races, they all blend together. Regardless, Wayne Grassi mired back in the field in 28th. Preston McRae will roll off your starting grid in 29th. Zach Probst in 30th, and that does it. 30 cars perfectly lined up, ready to go racing here at Sonoma Raceway. Eddie Kerner, the first of those, he's following the iRacing pace truck around. Well, that's going to be turns 3 and 3A. We actually have a handy-dandy track map to help you guys out, figure out where things are. So you can see right now, rounding turn 4 to head down into what we call the carousel. They have one right-hander, a slight right-hander, but hard to find grip there, especially in a big, heavy stock car like we've got tonight. Then you head down to the carousel, which is turn 6. You come out of turn 6 onto the drag strip, actually, for the hairpin of turn 7. A couple of little bit of a kinks take you down into turn 8, turn 8A, turn 9. We all just call that the S's. It's all just one kind of grouping, of course, of sweepers. Then you head down to turn 10, another very hard place to get a little bit of grip, get the nose to point correctly. And then finally, if you can do that all just right, you go down to the hairpin, well, the second of 2 hairpins now, turn 11, infamous for just so many great battles, last lap passes, and more. I mean, you saw Tony Stewart get his final NASCAR victory in that corner by shoving up the inside of Denny Hamlin and kind of pushing him off on exit. Turn 11's the place to do it. Turn 12, kind of just irrelevant when it comes down to picking a winner usually, but it is very important, obviously, if you're getting back to your start-finish line, as these guys roll down the bottom part of the S's through turn 9. Noah, this is going to be a good one. These guys have been practicing all week, trying to get a handle on these big, heavy stock cars, and they are definitely hard to drive at a place like Sonoma, so I can't wait to see these guys go at it for 90 laps.
Indeed, it's gonna be really interesting to see who has the best rhythm, because this is a rhythm track, if anything, because you have to be very patient, mind your corners, mind your P's and Q's, and keep it all clean. That's what they're gonna have to do for 90 laps as these drivers pull those belts one more time as they make their way out of that final hairpin, as they're gonna bring it down to the green flag. The field in the control of that tie-dye 98 car as the green flag is underway, and here goes Eddie Kerner hard on the throttle. He's going to stomp that loud pedal down to the turn number 1, as now we are green for 90 laps at what's formerly known as Sears Point.
We head up the hill for the first time here. Single file for the most part inside the top 10. I think the first side-by-side battle is for that P6 position right now. Kerner's only ahead by about a car length or 2 here. Stage lengths today are going to be at, stage breaks rather will be at laps 20 and 40. We're going a total of 90 laps tonight. Pretty calm so far. I'd like to see it because these guys have 225 miles of action tonight. So a lot of chances to overtake, not just on the track, but in pit road as well.
Absolutely. Pit stops will mean everything. Whether under green or under caution, it's so important to get everything just right about a pit stop. Leader Eddie Kerner, though, has trouble right on his back end. It's Dallas Pataska. Pataska is definitely one of the more well-rounded drivers on the service. I can't wait to see him pressure Eddie Kerner into maybe a mistake here in the early goings. We'll see what Pataska can do. That said, Bryson Hixenbaugh not all that far back. And then Alex Montanelli. We only talked about him a little bit at Charlotte, but he was fast for the 600 not so long ago. We do have one driver that is towed to the pits already. That's Patrick Mucci in the number 46. But regardless, Alex Montanelli, I think, is going to be one of the drivers to actually look for here. He's out of Brazil. He was so fast at Charlotte not so long ago, which is a bit interesting. Usually you don't see Brazilians all that fast on oval, but he was definitely representing Brazil rather well, and I think was a contender for a win. We'll have to see if he actually is able to stick around all night long tonight here for 90 laps at Sonoma. If he does, I think he's going to be one to watch.
Yeah, and an update on the Patrick Mucci situation. He blew the engine trying to unstick it. I'm not sure what he means by unstick it, but he did blow the engine, so that's going to end his race on lap 1. As they make their way into most of the field, for the most part, gets it through lap 1 cleanly, which is a really important thing to do because of how tight these guys are on the start, trying to get as much position as they can. So it's very easy to see a lot of pile-ups in these corners and these twisty, narrow tracks. But right now, he's talking about Eddie Kerner early in a race lead, but Dallas Pataska right on his back bumper, trying to hit every apex he can. He's all over the back bumper. He might try to take a peek on the inside going through the carousel now. As we got one car going wide, that is the 04 of Dave Hughes Jr., who made his first start in Michigan last week. So now he's going to try and rebound that, get on the racetrack, get that sand, get those tires cleaned off, and try to get the grip back in it. But the fight is still raging on for the race lead. As they get to the carousel, get ready to make their way up to the first hairpin. Dallas Pataska really putting the pressure on a number 23 car as they enter into that first hairpin, as they get ready to make their way through those winding narrow S's. This is one of the most fun parts of the racetrack because it's just a rhythm part. left, right, long left-hander, going feeds right back into a right-hander, goes uphill to a blind section, back down to a long sweeping left-hander where you just hold it about 50% throttle, then a little bit of tap on the brake to get it into that right-hander, and then it's just full throttle to try and hopefully aim to get to that curb and not go into grass. Then it's just hard on the brake as you set up for this final hairpin, and they're going to fly their way back down to turn 12 and then start it all over again to the blinding uphill sections that make up turns 1 through 5. So obviously there's a lot of things to try and get through this race and not kill your tires, but Eddie Kerner, in the most part, still coming out with an early release lead as he has the 37.711 that started out for lap number 3.
Racing here reminds me of racing a Formula One Grand Prix in the sense that a large portion of your lap is setting up for an overtake opportunity, because in reality you only have like 2 chances to pull off an overtake here without, you know, an incident, like an off-track incident for your competitor that you're trying to pass, and that's going into one of both hairpins. Of course, one of the hairpins is new to, as the 36 goes off, that's a Dakota Knoll. I think he went into the tire barriers. It's going to be some severe damage.
He's got a lot of front-end damage. We'll see if the King's Coast number 36 decides to try and tow or decides to get back on the racetrack. He's going to do that. So the King's Coast Coffee Company number 36 of Dakota Knoll gets that car pointed back in the right direction. You saw it from the onboard of the car that he was in front of. I believe that was Logan Simmons in the number 75. We'll watch it again here from one of the TV cameras. This is Dakota Knoll just loses it on a straightaway. I wonder if that's just wheel spin. I can't think of anything else that might have been. Just applying the throttle, trying to get down out of that corner, and the car just got out from under him. A very interesting, very odd to see a car spin on a straightaway. But these are high-powered cars, and technically the low downforce package, 750 horsepower, and I think 3.5 or around there inch spoilers, so you can lose the back end relatively easily. Obviously, as he just did that time out of turn 3A, headed down the hill for turn 4.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta wonder if you got an off track and got those tires a little bit dirty. That corner itself is just a very tough corner to try and get their way around, because you come off of that and it's just a downhill section, so there's a probability that he got loose going through that corner and was just trying to tackle it, but got on the throttle just a little too quick and then just spun the tires on the back end. But he just on the top of your screen, Pataska quickly making his name known. He has been stayed glued to the back bumper of that 98 car. I haven't been able to really go anywhere else on the field because I've been watching these two just put up a dogfight with each other, as Eddie Kerner has been used to running away with the lead early on in the race, is now having to fight off that 23 car for the most part. And with these two fighting, Bryson Hicksonbaugh has started to close up the gap a little bit, so he's starting to make his name known to these two. He hasn't won a race since Charlotte when we first came here, and he's been struggling to keep up with the 98 car for the past 2 weeks, and now with Dallas Pataska coming in, he's fallen to third for the most part of the last 2 races. So his game plan right now, try and get back up in there and say, hey, I won 6 or 7 races for a reason. I'm leading the points for a reason. He's going to show him that just because these two guys show up doesn't mean that he's out of the fight just yet.
It's a long run here, even in the first stage. 20 laps of action is going to be about 50 miles, I believe, here around the Sonoma race. A lap around the circuit itself, I believe, is somewhere around 2.5 miles, maybe slightly less. We haven't noted this yet about Pataska, but he comes into tonight with a road I rating over 6,000. That's 3,000 more I rating than anyone else in this session, including the likes of Eddie Kerner, who has an I rating of about 2,800. So just proves that the man is very versatile across probably multiple disciplines of road racing. We've seen that he's absolutely excellent on the oval side of things. He's, one of the guys that you absolutely love to see performing out there, because being able to perform in any environment just shows that you really have a lot of ability as a racer.
Yeah, again, Pataska, one of the more well-rounded drivers on the service, especially, I think, in this league. Obviously, this is an oval crowd, so Pataska putting the pressure on Kerner early. It's no surprise to see him up here. Again, you mentioned having the I rating advantage. That said, tonight, I think, is going to come down, I think, equally as much to the driver as to the setup. So, of course, usually on iRacing, you might be running a fixed setup race if you're just running casual lead. These guys, though, they're building their setups throughout the week, and they're working with their teammates to see what they can do better. And they're definitely tuning their car to every bit of the course, as Kerner is going to lose the back end under braking and goes wide in turn 7. He's going to lose the race lead side by side. Pataska draws to the right side, backs back out of it. He doesn't want to get side by side, of course, through the S's. A very tricky section of racetrack, and Kerner went wide, made the mistake, but was not about to let Pataska go by. He knows it's going to be hard to pass that 23 back. I think Pataska right now is running at about 85%, just running behind the 98. I don't think this is full pace for Pataska.
Yeah, it's always just biding his time. He knows that he has the car to get around Kerner, but he wants to play with Kerner a little bit, get the mind games and force him into an error, which he's been doing the last 3 major corners. That first hairpin, I think it was a little bit of a tire hop, a wheel hop going into the corner, which caused that to go wide. He went through the long right hand of the S's of the uphill. He went wide there, and then on the exit of the final hairpin, he went wide again. So right now, I think he's just kind of playing games a little bit, trying to get him to make more mistakes, kill those tires, and then just pick him off and run away with it. Because right now he is just all over the back bumper. He has stayed glued to that number 98 neon green machine. He has not been able to see a clear mirror of the hillsides of Sonoma because he's been dealing with that 23 car. So right now his main goal is just holding on to it. See, he gets loose. He's been struggling at the apex in that corner while the 23 car has just been nailing that corner lap after lap after lap. And now he's finally going to make the move, force 98 off the racing line. They're going to go right now. They make contact.
Wow.
And they're both going to get stuck up there, and the 23 car's going to go on his roof. And that's going to give Bryson Hicksonball the lead, so the 2 fastest cars are going to be out before the end of stage 1.
I hope we get a full course yellow for this, because that was just absurd to see Pataska just get set up into the tires. I don't think we're going to get that yellow, unfortunately, and that's going to likely end Pataska's day. I doubt he'll stick around after that one. If you're Pataska, I can't blame him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Kerner's still stuck up there. He's trying to get out, but he can't. I'm kind of confused on why that wouldn't be a caution. The fact that those 2 guys went off, they're stuck up there, and Kerner's on his roof. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are for that situation or what causes the full course yellow in here, but man, that is just a rough way to see it. Kerner was just struggling ever since he got onto the inside of turn number 4, and ever since then, he has been fighting that car. He's just been fighting demons within that car for those entire corners, and sadly, Pataska is just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that takes him out of this race as Pataska is finally disconnected. So that's 3 races in a row where he could have had a top 5 finish or even a win that ends up with him loading it on the trailer early and having to go talk to the media before the end of stage 1 even ends. So just a rough 3 weeks for the debut of that 23 car. As we talked about, he was one of the toughest guys on a race trying to get a win, but now that opens the door for these Galaxy Cup Series regulars to go and get a win again to try and strengthen their lead going into the playoffs.
So we've lost the top 2 here pretty early, but Hicksonball.
There we go. Hicksonball. There you go.
Hicksonball. Thank you. Okay. He did pit early in the stage, so he's probably looking at short pitting. He probably went and said, hey, if I pit on lap, it was about 5 or 6, I can make it to the end of the stage, no problem. He could even be looking at perhaps going to the end of the second stage with that. I'm not sure how long a fuel run is here exactly, but no, he's definitely playing the short pit game. So he's near the back of the pack, and that puts Alex Montanelli at the front of the pack for now. So he's probably in the best position here to win the stage. The thing that's unfortunate about Pataska is that he did everything right up to that point. He was staying within the mirror of Eddie Kerner. He was pressuring him into making a lot of mistakes, using up his good vehicles, just in terms of, forcing those mistakes is going to heat up the tires, and he's going to lose grip even quicker. He didn't quite pull off the overtakes on a couple of chances that he had, but, it was just a matter of time, and that would have been the opportunity, but unfortunately, Kerner had a bit of a mistake, and he collected Pataska as a result.
Yeah, that's just... I really don't even know how to put that into words, of course. I mean, that's really unfortunate for Pataska to just be doing everything correctly, as you said, Trey, and just get taken out. Obviously, Kerner didn't mean to do anything. It wasn't intentional. He made a mistake, got down into the corner, and just lost the feel of the car and washed out towards the dirt. And, that's how it happens sometimes, but it's really unfortunate for Pataska, who was looking so quick. I think would have had this field covered after a little while, to be honest. And you want to see the best driver have some kind of success. The best car usually does not win a race. The best driver usually does not necessarily win a race, but you want to see at least the best driver in the field not get taken out like that. We do have Josh Coppernall, speaking of drivers in the field, rather. He was parked in turn 4, not sure what happened to him. Regardless, Montanelli continues to lead. My point being, though, with Pataska, he's been so good since joining the series at Kansas. And to get taken out every single week at some point, I mean, something has to give, you would think. That's just the worst luck I think I've ever seen somebody have upon joining a new league. He got taken out at Kansas when a couple of lap cars tangled in turn 1. He got taken out last week, I believe, in Wineland's incident towards the end of the race. And gets taken out today battling for the race lead early in stage number 1. And none of those were at all Pataska's fault or doing. Nothing he could have done differently really either, because he was just trying to race Kerner, and Kerner made a mistake, got in there way too deep, and just washed up. And it was the same problem he had down in turn 7, the lap before, turn 11 as well. The back end of the 98 was just walking, and I think that was definitely a good qualifying setup. Not so sure how it was for the race. Regardless, our new top 3, by virtue of all this drama going on in just the first half of stage 1, are going to be Montanelli, Caldwell, and Simmons. It's going to be interesting to see when these guys pit, of course, because you mentioned the early pit there for Hicks and Batre. These guys are running about 50 miles in this first stage. You were pretty on par there. It's a 2.53 mile configuration here. The new Sonoma course, of course, you used to have the cut through from turn 4 to turn 7. We're now going to the carousel. So that's about 50 miles. If you go to Daytona or something and you run 50 miles, usually you're going to have to pit, I think, about after 70, 80. It's I'm trying to liken it to Daytona in lap length and fuel mileage. It's obviously going to be a bit different because you're in a road course, you're shifting through the gears, whereas you have the draft at Daytona and you're in 4th gear the entire time. But I think we're going to see somewhat worse mileage, but also I think they're good for the first stage. We'll have to see, obviously. They could prove me wrong here shortly. But I would imagine 50 miles, you should be good for the first stage, because at Daytona, you know, you're looking like 75 miles usually. Definitely at least 30 laps to a run, if not a little bit longer. It would really surprise me to see these guys have to pit in each stage.
Yeah, absolutely. My eye right now, though, is on the fight going on back outside the top 10, back around the 16th, 17th, 18th through 20th position. Those guys are in a really tough fight, even in front of them. Kevin Steele, Chris Awood, Preston McRae, Zach Probst is in front of them. Bryson Hickson got through. He's not making his way through. These guys are in a very tough fight, especially in that 3-car fight between the 44, the 91, and the 53. They've been very close to with each other through the carousel, up through the hairpin, down to the S's. Those guys have been all over each other. But yeah, keep an eye on it. You see two of them go wide. The 53, I believe that is, Preston McRae, he's going to jump to the inside. He's going to overtake the 91 car. Wayne Grasley's actually right behind them. So he's making moves through the field. Now running up in the 19th position. So he's just minding his P's and Q's. Tommy Amos as well. He's one of the guys up higher in the playoff standings. He finds himself on the 21st position, but there's a lot of fighting going around this racetrack, especially up towards the top 10 even. Randy Drumhiller is on a fight. He doesn't really have anyone behind him. The nearest car to him is that 36 car, who is in fact missing that hood. And there's a fight going on between Dave Hughes Jr. and Alan Hoyt. So a lot of fights going on in the mid-pack. But like you talked about, due to the fact of, and the 11 car actually went wide. He just went wide up into the first hairpin. I think he locked the brakes. I was about to talk about this. The 11 car, I'll admit this, he's very, very fast. He's incredibly fast, but he's also very aggressive. That's one of the things I realized a lot from Charlotte, is just how aggressive he is. So that's one of the things I'm worried about, is he's going to kill these tires trying to do too much. I don't know if it's slow-mo or if that's actually real time or we're sitting on a replay. But so yeah, he just shot it way wide, and I just killed the lead he had by about a couple seconds. That allowed Cam Caldwell to close up the gap. Now he's within fighting distance, as he can see that pink, purple, and white number 11 car, as he's still lapping his way on the racetrack as he makes it to the halfway point in stage number 1. Right now, Alex Montanelli, my main concern is whether or not he's going to kill those tires trying to run out this lead.
You know, we saw that replay. That's the exact place where I think Eddie Kerner cracked for the first time here tonight. So that's probably going to be a place where we're going to see a lot of overtaking opportunities, because it's very easy to overcook the tires there. I'm not sure that there's even braking markers going into turn 7 there, which makes it even that more difficult to try to determine, hey, when is the last possible moment that I can get on the brakes safely while also maximizing my, cornering speed once I get to the apex or the center of the corner. otherwise, the top 5 are really sorted out right now. The closest battle within the top 10, Christopher Hammond is holding off the number 27 machine of Petrucco as we now look at that battle. Fortunately for these guys, we're coming up on the part of the circuit that's probably the most difficult to overtake on outside of the S's near the back end of the circuit. 27's making it work, though. They're going to be side by side here coming down the hill. And then we'll go to the inner portion of the circuit here. We have a 3-dog fight here, and then right behind them, I believe that is the 88 of Cody Goza. Again, he's driving in the correct manufacturer. He's in a Ford tonight, I believe, or is he in a Toyota? I believe he's in a Toyota. Hammond leads this pack here.
So that is a Ford for Cody Goza. Hammond, like you say, holding off Petrucco right now, but Petrucco just keeps getting a better line. That time Hammond goes way wide in the carousel, going to give that spot right up to Petrucco. Goza will be the next one to follow through. You mentioned Turn 7 being the place where Eddie Kerner finally cracked for the first time. It is right here, and you really don't have very many good references. You kind of just have to count billboards to your braking spot or braking point and figure out which one works for you. And you know, it is the newer configuration for these drivers, at least. I mean, for almost 20 years, we had the same, I think it was 20 years, actually. We had the same configuration for NASCAR coming to Sonoma, and they changed it up last year for 2019. This year, you know, the second running of the new, but really the old configuration here of Sears Point back in the day, now Sonoma Raceway. It's definitely messing with these guys. I think having to brake for that hairpin because you're on a drag strip, actually. And the track is just a little bit slick as Goza's going to go around out of 11. No, he hangs on to it, but definitely a big slide for the driver of the number 88. He's going to drop outside the top 10, it looks like. No, he's actually going to hang on to the top 10. These are some lap cars behind him, so loses those spots to Wineland and Drumhorn, but is going to stay ahead of, I believe that's the 38 behind him, regardless. Turn 7 definitely going to throw these guys for a bit of a loop. Obviously has been already because it's a newer corner for these guys. You get so used to the configuration that we've had for 20 years, of course, going into last year. And to make that switch up, to make that change up and have to learn a couple of new corners is definitely going to change things up. Give it 20 years, though. They'll have it down pat, and then I'm sure we'll have a different course configuration at that point.
Yeah, it's a really interesting racetrack to say the least. The old circuit was really interesting. I had a hard time because I used to play the old NASCAR games back from the the late 90s, early 2000s before they had the new configuration with the whole turn 7, 7A up in the top section. So I was used to this. So it was very weird seeing seeing the old videos and now seeing this thing. I was like, oh, that's what that was. I was too young to remember. But you talk about turn 7, how that's a really tough corner for a lot of drivers. And it's even a tough corner for the IndyCar drivers, and they have a lot more powerful brakes than these Cup cars do. But that was still a treacherous corner for a lot of them, where you can make or break your championship. And that was a very opportune passing zone when they raced here for the title. So it's a corner that a lot of drivers use to their advantage, as they see as a prime passing zone, because it's so hard to pass at Sonoma as it is, especially in let alone Indy cars, especially in NASCAR. As you see the 88 of Goza trying to make it on the inside of Drumhiller. He's going to take the inside line. He's going to force him on the right. He's going to spin it again, but hold on to it. 88 cars were really struggling in that final hairpin, as now he holds on to it again. He now has to try and rebuild and run back down that 30 car. He's surprisingly having a pretty good run. He's had a couple bad runs the last 2 weeks in the oval, struggling back there in the later half of the field. But now he actually finds himself running up here for stage points, now trying to capitalize on it. He's trying to make his way to strengthen himself to get into the playoffs later on in the season.
Yeah, I can't think of a good run for Cody Goza so far. I mean, you look back to Charlotte, goes for a spin on lap number 1 or 2. I think it was lap 1. Go to Kansas. He was one of those lap cars that ended up causing that incident that took out Dallas Pataska so early on in the race. Go to Michigan last week, and he was actually caught up in an incident with, I got to think about it, I think it was Cam Caldwell, the bottom of turn 4. I'm not totally certain on that. It might have been somebody else entirely, but regardless, 3 incidents in 3 weeks, and I think there were even a couple of more sprinkled in at Charlotte and Kansas, but the point being, Goza has just not had a good run of things. Right there with Pataska, just 3 really bad weeks the last little while we've been covering the Galaxy Cup Series. So looking to turn that around today. Obviously, Sonoma could get a stage point or 2 if he can get right back up to Drumhiller and try and make that pass. He almost had it completed out of 11 and then just got on the throttle too much of the exact same thing he did the lap before. He's just getting on the throttle way too hard. He needs to really be patient with it. And, you know, if you lose a little bit of time, just being easy on the throttle, whatever, you're going to save your rear tires and lose less time than if you throw it sideways like he has been doing recently. So now, back on the rear end of Drumhiller, out of the corner. He's not even close this time. We'll see if he buzzes those rears again. No. When he's not behind somebody, or sorry, when he's not to the inside of somebody, he doesn't buzz them, and he's actually going to get the position on Drumhiller, who does buzz those rear tires out of 11, gives up that 9th place position. So move Cody Goza up into 9th for 2 stage points for now. The battle ahead of these guys, actually, Wineland and Hammond. We've seen these two run towards the front in recent weeks. Definitely more so Wineland than Hammond, but Hammond's been making some big progress and currently running in the 7th position here at Sonoma.
And you see those two running really aggressive with each other, trying to get those positions and try and get as much stage points as they can. Hammond has more to gain out of this, as he's one of the drivers not locked into the playoffs, as Wineland does have a way to lock himself into the playoffs. He doesn't really have much to worry about other than trying to strengthen himself to get more insurance to get into the round of 8. My eye right now is on the number 12, Cam Caldwell, who just went wide. I was keeping an eye on the number 12 car, reason being he's been closed down the gap lap by lap by lap on the number 11 car. He's been peeling him in. It was a 5 seconds the last time we looked on these two. Now it's up to 2 seconds. I think it's going to drop down to about 3 now, as now he's falling into the clutch to number 75 of Logan Simmons, who I haven't really recalled too much of. I don't know if this is his first start or not, but he's having himself a pretty fine day, showing a little bit more of the road course ringers, making their names known. Cameron Stone, I believe. I think this is one of his first appearances that we've had him since the Charlotte race, I think. Jonathan Delaney, another guy you're saying having a really good run up there in the top 5. So a lot of drivers who usually don't see running up here in the top 10 really making their names known to try and capitalize on the opportunity, to try and get as many stage points and possible wins, to try and get themselves into the playoffs. As Logan Simmons took a dive into that corner as he went wide. He kept on the racetrack, but man, a lot of drivers here today trying to get themselves in the best position they can to try to capitalize as much as they can to try and get themselves as many points later for the run as they make their way towards, I believe, the finale is at Daytona.
Okay. Apologies there, I was having some issues with my push-to-talk button. No, originally in the NASCAR season, Daytona was going to be the conclusion to the regular season, so that'll be where the regular season wraps up. It'll be a good opportunity if you are not locked into the playoffs to perhaps sneak in there and get, into the playoffs with a win and, some playoff points to your name. Getting back to here, the race here at Sonoma, we're within about 5 laps here to the end of the stage here at Sonoma, and then we'll get a pretty solid reset. These guys will be able to slap on Goodyear Eagles if they want to, fill up with Sunoco fuel, and we'll be ready to go for a little bit less than 20 laps here. So right now, Drumhiller is holding on to the last spot inside the top 10. And right behind him, well, when I say right behind him, there's actually about a 5-second gap or so. But Bryson Hicksonbow, there we go. He's running in the P11 position, despite the fact that he did already pit once. So I think he's showing that he has some of the better pace in the field right now, even with that one pit stop. And he is on slightly fresher Goodyear tires, to be fair, but he's still doing an excellent job of climbing back through the field, just like Eric Wineland, who started about 10 spots back from where he is currently.
Absolutely. I mean, Hicksonbaugh was up there until whatever issues occurred on it. I think that was lap 6 or so. Obviously, with Kerner getting loose and taking out Pataska, and then Hicksonbaugh apparently having some kind of issue, maybe not filling up on fuel. It's hard to tell, but based on some of the chatter going on elsewhere, I think he may not have filled up on fuel. I think that's why we saw him pit. I think these guys are definitely good to go to the end, or I think they would have pitted by now to split this stage up. We're coming up to lap 17 of 20 in stage number 1. Nobody has made a move to the pits yet, unless you're Bryson Hicksonbaugh, and I think was short on fuel, or unless you've had some kind of issue. In fact, one driver coming down is Brandon Pierce, and you can see all that damage on that number 38. I'd have to imagine that's what's bringing him down the pit lane. Because I do believe these guys are good to go to the end on fuel. So it's really just a matter of how much you tear up your tires, I guess. If you need to come in, I don't think you should have to. I think it's just a matter of go run for 20 laps, see what you got at the end of it. And then the real interesting call is going to come in stage number 3, of course, that final stage, the run to the end. When do you pit there? You've got a 50-lap run to the end after lap 40's caution, and it'll actually be about 47, maybe 46 laps for these guys actually go green, of course, with that caution taking out a few laps. So it's very interesting possibility to think about. These guys playing some strategy in that final stage. I don't think anybody's going to be playing a fuel mileage game. I think it's just a matter of when you pit to maximize your best lap times.
Another thing to look out for, besides the stage wins, besides the stage points for that matter, is the lucky dog scenario right now. Right now, Tommy Amos is going to get the lucky dog when the caution comes out, but we have lap traffic right now approaching as well, as you see a lot of the slower cars starting to make their way known. The last car in the lead lap right now is that 162 is Zach Probst, who currently finds himself sitting 17th in the playoff standings, only 15 points back, but not too far behind him is that number 11 of Alex Montanelli. You know he's going to try and take that position, and that's the last thing Amos wants, because he wants that lap back. He's sitting in the 10th position in points right now. He has a pretty good sizable gap, 150 points to the cutoff, but still, he wants to keep that lucky dog spot, because if he doesn't, that's basically his race done, because of how impossible it is to try and get a lap back under green. You need a lucky dog, and you need to get wave rounds in order to do that, but he can't get a wave round on in the stage. He needs to pit, so he needs to pray that this 162 can hold off the 11 car for about 4 more to 3 more laps to try and keep himself safe from having to go a lap down and take away his potential lucky dog to try and get his race back going. But still, that 11 car is getting bigger and bigger in the mirror of that number 162, and he's going to let him by. So now there it goes.
That's really not a bad call there for the 162. Unfortunately, the 28 is going to be put in a situation where he's going to have to say, hey, do I want to take the wave round here and get my lap back, or do I want to come back down here for fresh Goodyear tires? But no, not the worst idea for that 162 machine, because there's a gap of about, I believe, about 10 or 15 seconds of the car ahead of him, which is currently Preston McRae, although he's also lost a lot of time in the last lap. So it's quite possible that Probst is not going to be the lucky dog either. So it was a nice gesture to, you know, show the leader, hey, I have respect for you here in the early stages of the race, but he maybe putting up a fight would have put him in a better situation, because the leaders are pretty quickly coming up on McRae. They're probably going to be borderline trying to overtake him near the end of the stage. Only have like 2.5 laps to go here in the stage. Of course, I think the yellow doesn't get called until the top 10 actually cross to complete lap 20. So we still have a long way longer than we might initially think. Brandon Pierce is also, he is 2 laps down. So he is not in the lucky dog picture, I don't think. So we're really looking at Preston McRae right now and Zach Probst.
Yeah, McRae, he went off in turn 4. We had it on your screen here. This 53 could definitely still go a lap down in these closing laps of stage number 1. It's not totally over for Zach Probst to just get that free lap back. It really depends what McRae does. If he has another couple of big slip-ups, he could suddenly be all over the nose of Alex Montanelli, who is running through the S's now. It's somewhere in the range of probably about 10 seconds. It's really hard to say. I'm trying to figure out from McRae. Actually, Grassi, it looks like, is now the next... Oh, Hicksonbaugh is in the pit lane again.
Yeah, a very weird thing to see out of Hicksonbaugh. He seems to be struggling a lot. I don't know if it has to do with damage. Oh, the 53 car goes off into turn number 1. He's stuck up there in the grass. Oh, he's going to beach it trying to get out of there, so that's going to kill him. He's definitely going to lap down as Montanelli now lapping around to turn 1 as now the 53 has to walk out. As now the 11 car is going to go around.
Unfortunate to see there, but he is going to stay ahead of the 162 for now, I believe. 162 at Probst has already dropped off, I believe, like about 10 seconds there from the number 11. So that just shows the absolute raw pace that Montanelli and other leaders have right now. Cam Codwell has stayed pretty consistent, though. Here he's about 2.5 seconds behind that number 11 right now. So if there's a mistake out of that number 11, he could easily pick up the playoff points that come with the stage win here. Only about 2 laps of action left, and then behind them, Logan Simmons, not a name we talk about too much, and right behind him, Cameron Stone and Jonathan Delaney round out your top 5. But that gap from 1st to 5th place right now is about 40 seconds. It just shows that we have quite a disparity in pace here. And that just happens at a track where it becomes really difficult to pass. You're going to get these really big gaps when guys get behind guys that they're not able to overtake.
And Bryson Hicksonbaugh will be the next car to go a lap down. I think that's the first time I've ever said that since taking on the Galaxy Cup Series all the way back for the ABillion Wood Projects LLC 600 at Charlotte. He might go a lap down. I doubt it. He's got the pace that he should run away from Montanelli here, especially with some new tires on that number 63. Now Grassi will be the next car to go a lap down, and Montanelli is just behind these guys, so we actually could be talking about Hicksonbaugh going a lap down. Time will tell as Montanelli is going to cross the start-finish line for lap number 20. He's got 1 lap to go. White flag here in stage 1. As he's going to be coming up to Grassi, I would expect him to at least lap Wayne Grassi It's dependent on whether or not he gets to the 63, I think, that you really got to start talking about a big storyline. If Hickson-Bach goes a lap down in stage number 1 here at Sonoma, I think that's the biggest headline we've had in weeks.
Yeah, but also keep in mind that Cam Caldwell, number 12, has closed down that gap. He is within striking distance of that number 11 car to try and make something happen. And with the lap cars ahead of him, that's going to open up the door for that 12 car to maybe steal a stage win here. We talked about the 11 being so aggressive. See, he goes wide. He's trying to keep off the grass. The 12 car hits his apex. He's going to reel him in coming off the corner, as then he's going to try and charge down. With the lap cars in front of him, that really opens up the door for him to try and get something done. So expect the 12 car to use whatever he has left of his tires to try and capitalize and take over that stage of the 11 car. As the 11 makes his way through the final S's, he still holds on to a pretty sizable lead, but the gap is getting smaller and smaller and smaller with that big train of lap cars ahead of him. The 12 car is just getting closer and closer, as we're going to have a fight for the last corners here for this stage 1 win.
The gap is about a second right now, and you're right, the 11 is coming into a train at a section of the course where you can really not pass. So we're going to head here into the final 2 corners here. The 11 has a gap, a big enough gap, as long as he doesn't have a mistake.
Through turn 11 for the final time in stage 1. They're going to go by Grassy. The 12, Cam Caldwell, just not going to quite be there. Caldwell a bit slow up out of 11. He's not got a chance now. Montanelli will cross the start-finish line first for stage number 1 win. Goes to Alex Montanelli. Cam Caldwell in second. Logan Simmons third. That's Cameron Stone back here in fourth. And these guys all going to be coming across the start-finish line here shortly. About a 40-second gap, like you mentioned. What I'm concerned about, actually, is going to be whether or not Montanelli laps any more cars by the time the yellow comes out. It would put those drivers a lap down, regardless of the fact that the stage is technically over, because we're waiting on this top 10 across the start-finish line before we throw the yellow flag. Dave Fuge now is the last car on the lead lap. You see his metallic number red front end just ahead of Montanelli going into the carousel now. He could still go a lap down, and that might trap Grassy 1 lap down.
Yeah, but it also gives the door for the 12 car to try to take over the race's lead for the end of this stage, because now he still has the time, because Eric Wineland has finally exited turn number 10, approaching 11. So he's still trying to finish this stage, and that gives the door to the number 12 car to try to get something done, to maybe take the lead away, to get himself in a perfect position. He's right on the back bumper, so all eyes are where Eric Wineland is. He's going to cross the start-finish line just about now, so that's going to keep that number 12 cars back in second, as the 11 car takes his first stage win of his Galaxy Cup Series career in his second start.
So the action did start to quell down there in the second half of that stage, but it was absolutely exciting between the lead 2 there in the first 10 laps or so. Very unfortunate to see those 2, their days come to an end, because I think we would have had a show that would have gone on all the way to the end. But, we have a couple of guys that have risen to the occasion, and I think they're going to be pretty tight here, especially in the second stage. Might be a little bit harder to keep that up once we go for a 50-lap long run here at the end. It's just the nature of Sonoma. It's very tasking on the driver, and it's going to make guys get really spread out. But the second stage should be pretty exciting, and we still have a lot of strategy to play with in the last stage.
Absolutely. So that's going to wrap up stage number 1. We're going to step away here for just a moment, gather our notes, gather our thoughts on what we just saw transpire over the course of 20 laps. We'll be right back to you. We're going to leave you with sights and sounds here from Sonoma Raceway, but we will step aside for just a moment. We'll be right back to you, with pit stops at Sonoma. Alex Montanelli, your stage 1 winner. You can see the rest of the top 10 on the left side of your screen. They'll all gain stage points. That'll be Montanelli, Caldwell, Simmons, Stone, Delaney, Petrucco, Hammond, Goza, Drumhiller, and Wineland, all getting stage points. We'll be right back to you from Sonoma Raceway. It's Pit Stop TV. Don't go anywhere. So as the field heads down the pit lane, you see Montanelli, your leader, will wait for him to pick his pit box out of the bunch, and he's going to come in for his 4 tires and fuel. I would imagine the whole field should be. I don't think you'll see any strategy calls of 2 tires or anything like that. It's really just a matter of how much fuel you want to pack in the race car. If you want to try and be a little bit lighter and not slosh the rear end around so much, Montanelli comes in. He'll stop in his box. Caldwell behind him. Then it's Simmons, Stone, and Delaney, your top 5, even in the pit cycle. You see Hixenbaugh's pit stall rather, just ahead of Montanelli. Now, one thing that Hixenbaugh may have been trying to do, and I'm not sure if it's going to work out or not, but one idea could have been to pit right there at the end of the stage and then stay out here. I don't think he's done that. He's still so far back in the field because he was almost a lap down, of course. He's still in the S's. These guys have already exited the pit lane. I think that may have been the goal. But, of course, he's just so far back at the end of the stage that there's just no way it's going to work out. So, what we'll try and do is search for our stage winner to see if we can dial him up and get to talk to him. I don't think we're going to have Alex Montanelli, in which case we will look for a good replacement. In fact, what do you say we go ahead and talk to, of course, Bryson Hixenbaugh. We talked to him quite a few times this season, but I really want to hear his side of things and what the goal was there to pit. So we'll go ahead and drag Hixenbaugh down here, and we'll get to talk to him. Bryson Hixenbaugh, do you have a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, Bryson, definitely an interesting stage 1 for your number 63. What was the goal with those 2 pit stops?
The first one was frustration after I wrecked the car in that right-hander before the final hairpin. I decided to come in and see how badly damaged it was. I saw the fender and I assumed that it was pretty much killed. Thankfully, it was just 30 seconds of damage, so I was able to get back out there and still have speed. The second pit stop, I thought I could do the strategy of pitting before the stage and passing everybody. But we didn't catch the pace car there, so I think I'm right back where I was before I pit with older tires and everybody around me. So that's not worked out.
Well, on the bright side of things, at least the tires have some heat. Granted, you are going to have to put them through another heat cycle. What's the plan here for the next 20 laps? Are you good to the end of the stage number 2, or do you have to pit again?
I should be good to the end. We'll see how it goes. I may try and pit again at the end of the stage if I'm closer to the leader, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, Bryson, best of luck to you. A couple of drivers, at least based on the starting grid, that look like they'd be your strongest competition. They had their issues in turn 6, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again later on. But first up, who do you want to shout out today?
Shout out to my teammate Cam for racing with me today. Cody and Tim couldn't make it this week. They're out at a real racetrack.
Well, Bryson, best of luck to you over the course of the next 65 laps or so that we've got. I'm sure we'll be talking to you later on.
All right. Thank you, guys.
So Bryson Hixenbaugh, not your stage winner here in stage number 1, but I think usually would be, or at least in contention for it. We haven't talked to him, I think, for a stage win recently, at least not since Charlotte there, Noah. Definitely good to hear his side of things, and good to know exactly what he was doing with that last pit stop, because I was very curious as to why he was pitting that second time.
Yeah, obviously you're not in a position to really go out there and get the stage points. You might as well just get the new tires and then go back around, which is what he's doing. So it's going to really just give him a restart button to get there back to the beginning of stage 2 to try and regroup and go back for stage 3 and get as many positions as he can. Obviously, with the fact that Eddie Kerner and Dallas Patasker are out of the contention to try and get anything done in this race, all this really does is just open up the door for a lot of these regulars to go back out there and get it. Another question is, can Alex Montanelli hold on to what he has in that 11 car? Cam Caldwell finally get capitalized, because now instead of having the gap to worry about, he's going to be starting right beside him, so we're going to see a pretty good fight out of the 12 and the 11, and the 75 right behind them. 57 of Caldwell, the 57 of Cameron Stone, he's lining up back there in 3rd, and then Jonathan Delaney is in 5th. Although they're gonna wave it off as something weird's going on here.
Yeah, so I think what the admins might have just done there is lengthened the yellow by 1 lap too many. There is a known issue with iRacing cautions on road courses that usually get the 1 to green too early. I think they were seeing that and worrying they were going to let them go loose. I think iRacing was going to keep it yellow. What is interesting is the fact that Bryson Hixenbaugh is now second place.
Wait, yeah, no, I just realized something. He was still in the lead lap and he stayed out. So he took the lead with that move. That's what happened. They were trying to get him back up in line.
Oh, wow, you're right. He is going to take the lead.
I wonder if that's just how timing and scoring is operated on the software side of things for iRacing, where if you don't pit, you're going to get sorted to the front of the field regardless of whether or not you come out ahead of the guys on pit road.
That is suddenly an IQ 3000 move for Bryson Hixenbaugh. We were all thinking he was going to get stuck back there. Even he was thinking he'd be stuck back in the field with no gain through this strategy. It's going to work out by virtue of the fact that all these guys around him pitted, he did not. So by default, he's handed the race lead for this restart. That is massively important for the driver of the number 63 out of Arizona. Wow, that really changes things up. It's going to change the complexity of this stage number 2 entirely. We were thinking about Montanelli and Caldwell battling for it again, and Hixenbaugh trying to come back through the field and set himself up for the final stage. Now, Hixenbaugh could be in the best position of anyone. Of course, he's got the race lead, which is always preferred, but he's got, I think, a better car than Montanelli. He was faster in qualifying and off the start of the race. We'll have to see how Hixenbaugh's car treats him with that bit of a left side damage, rather. But I think Hixenbaugh may have just been gifted what he needed to get back into this race.
Yeah, but now what he needs is a caution too, because he's on much older tires than us. So I'm sure it's about 5 or 6 laps, but still those 5 or 6 laps are century-old tires compared to these other guys around him. So what he needs is a caution to be able to go down and get those tires to come back out.
Well, remember, we had that caution coming in 15 laps.
That's true, but still, he's on much older tires than compared it to the people around him. I'm sure he has a faster car, he has a little bit of damage, but those tires are going to handicap him compared to the fresh boots that the rest of the other field has, especially with the aggressiveness of the number 11 car. It's going to be very interesting to see if that 63 car can handle it with the 11 and the 12 and all the other guys that have been trying to capitalize on the fact that the 98 and the 23 have been taken out early in the race.
In the leads for the number 63 machine, it's only going to be 15 laps here to the end of the stage as we roll through here the final couple of corners, and we're going to restart here with that number 63 in control.
Bryson Hixenbaugh, your race leader, he fires off and away we go. Green flag racing once more. Montanelli, Caldwell, the battle across the start finish, and they'll battle all the way up the hill for turns 1 and 2. It's going to be tight between them as well. Caldwell has technically the better line through 1, but then through 2, headed back to the right. Montanelli has the advantage, and he's going to use it. He clears Caldwell, some bumping and banging further back. Delaney gets into the back of Simmons, and the rest of the field is just a crapshoot over the hill.
Yeah, that's the thing about these restarts is it's such a capitalizing moment for a lot of drivers who want to take position, but also one of the scariest moments of any part of the race is the restarts because of how packed it is, how aggressive everybody is trying to get position because they know how hard it is to pass here. So take what you can out of these restarts, and that's what's going on. So now the question is if they can hold on to it and not hit each other. And we're seeing a lot of drivers struggle to do that, trying to keep a hold of these cars going 2x2 using some of these corners. And that's what now what this track is meant to do is for 2x2 racing on the throughout a lot of these corners, but still Hixenbaugh with the early race lead, but the 11 car is right back on his back bumper. The aggressiveness out of that number 11 is starting to show again. He's all over the mirror of that number 63 car, trying to do whatever he can to take back the position to try and sweep the stages here as they weave their way to the S's. The rest of the field snaking their way through as the single file is out as they make their way to that first hairpin. But still, we have about 15 or 14 laps left to run to the end of this stage, but it's still a lot to think about for how a lot of these drivers are going to try to get in positions and whether or not that 11 car can get the pass done.
Looking from the rear bumper now of Hixenbaugh, he's going to get back away from Montanelli out of turn 11. So Montanelli putting the charge on him, but doesn't quite get there that first lap green. And I think Hixenbaugh has a better car. You mentioned it though, Noah, and Hixenbaugh talked about it too, how he's got those older tires, and that's going to be tough for him to work with. Of course, it means they're up to temp at least instead of being completely cold, but he is putting them through an extra heat cycle, which is really going to damage those tires and wear them a little bit faster. And of course, he's just worn that fresh rubber layer off to begin with. So Montanelli has a slight advantage there. It's just a matter of how he brings those tires back up the temp, though, if you're Hixenbaugh, and how Montanelli charges. I think the 11 can definitely get there, but passing him is a different story. We saw that towards the start of the race, even, with Eddie Kerner and Dallas Patasco. Patasco was there, and he was biding his time. As soon as he went for a pass, though, Kerner made a mistake and washed up and sent him off the racetrack. Sent him up and over, actually. Flipped over at a turn 6. But that said, I don't think you're going to see Hixenbaugh do the same thing. Hixenbaugh a bit sideways out of 7, nonetheless.
Yeah, he's really trying to do whatever he can to try and open the gap to the 11 car, but that 11 car is just on his bumper, glued to it. You see out the back mirror, the rear window of that machine, you see that white hood just getting closer and closer and closer. He's biding his time, trying to wait for the position. He found a position. He's going to peek to the inside, and he's going to send it up the inside in that final hairpin. Here they go. He's going to run him wide, force him out wide. Now the 11 car is going to take over the race lead. So that's an incredible pass done by the 11 car. Then he's going to try and outrun it. And the 63 car is going to try and play catch up to try and regain the ground he lost and try and retake that race lead.
What's going to be interesting now, Noah, I think, is how quickly can that number 12 machine, who's shown that he can have the pace later into a run, is going to compete with that number 11. How fast can he get by that number 63 machine of Hixenbaugh, who is on, as we said, he's on slightly older tires than the rest of these guys, and he's already seen the effects, as he's already very quickly starting to drop off the 11 only after a couple of corners. He's already about a whole second behind Montanelli right now. Montanelli doing a pretty solid job here since he overtook for the race lead, and that number 12 machine is nearly on the rear bumper, the number 63 of Hixenbaugh, as we head into the, part of the circuit that we're becoming more familiar with, since this is only the second year that NASCAR is back on the inner loop here at Sonoma, Sears Point, whatever you want to call it.
Caldwell has company, though. You mentioned him being quick and now looking to maybe catch up to Hixenbaugh. He's got a driver behind him to worry about. Simmons was quite a ways back towards the end of stage 1, but now is all over Caldwell. We mentioned Caldwell having another chance at Montanelli and Hixenbaugh. Really, Simmons has a chance at Caldwell because I think those two are a little bit closer in pace, and Simmons is definitely not letting us down just yet. You saw the pass a little while ago he made out of turn 7 on Cameron Stone, and that was definitely a bit risky, and I think Stone at one point just had to accept the fact that Simmons was going to go on by. But I think that 75 might just have something here for Cam Caldwell. We'll see as the laps wind down. Rich Petrucco, though, he's up almost into the top 5. He's a little ways back of Cameron Stone. 6th place right now, which is pretty remarkable given that we were talking about him around, 15th position, I think, a little while ago. So Rich Petrucco, P6 right now, doing pretty good. Jonathan Delaney in 7th, also looking pretty stout. Cody Goza, Eric Wineland, Randy Drumheller currently round out your top 10.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers that you see, if you're talking about just road course ringers trying to take what they can and run away with it, Cody Goza, it's just incredible seeing him have his 8th place run, because you usually see him, like we talked about, running back there in like 15th, 16th, and 17th with the damaged up race car, struggling to try and get on a racetrack, but he's holding his own pretty well. He's able to get stage points at the end of stage 1, and now he's running pretty well for stage 2, so this is a really good turnaround for what he's needed compared to the last 3 weeks for that 88 machine. Eric Wineland, on the other hand, he's been struggling. We usually see him running up there in the top 5 up to 2nd. He's back there battling just for a single stage point. Luckily, he has that one win to keep to where he says, you know what, I'll just bide my time, get the position, get the points, and then just go home and then try again next week. But still, it's incredible to see the 31 struggling this much compared to what we've seen out of him being one of the top drivers in the Galaxy Cup Series. Obviously, not really much of a road course ringer himself, but he's still holding his own to try to get as much stage points as he can. But still, the fight right now is on between Caldwell and Hixenbaugh. Montanelli's been able to run away a little bit. They got one car off track. That is Alan Wheat, I believe. That is Cameron Stone of the 57. Similar looking cars to what we're usually seeing from the 57 to the 15. They kind of had the whole blue and white thing that kind of confused you there. But yeah, just my best guess, went wide and took a little bit of a detour, trying to turn that thing into a Baja truck as he went off-roading a little bit. He was able to get back on racetrack, now having to fend off Cameron Stone back there for, no, not Cam, I'm sorry, Cody Goza, trying to fend him off there for the 8th position, so he fell back a little bit. He's going to try and rebound it there. I think that's the 15 car on the pit road right now.
Gonna have to check in on the number 15 machine as he comes down pit road. So Alan Wheat, he is down pit road. A lot of damage on the left rear side for him, so he's going to come out near the tail end of the lead lap. He'll be P17 as we continue to ride aboard Cameron Stone. Right now, the closest battle up front is for that P2 position. Delaney has actually... Oh, wait, my timing and scoring is incorrect. Okay, Hicksonbaugh is in P2, riding pretty closely ahead of Cam Caldwell, who's starting to keep the pressure on. And this is where we kind of see that scenario like we saw with Pataska and Kerner early in the race, where that guy that's behind, what he has to do is make himself prevalent in the rearview mirror, or the virtual mirror for the guy that's ahead of him. And that's going to force mistakes after a lot of time. These... I mean, well, you will even see at the top level on iRacing in the likes of the iRacing Coca-Cola series. All you need to do after a while is keep that pressure on, and guys are going to eventually force themselves into mistake. It's going to happen when you're riding around a circuit for 225 miles. It's probably going to be about 2.5 hours, 3 hours of racing here. So we're going to go here through the S's down into the final hairpin, turn 11 and 12. And there's a bit of a gap here between second, third, and fourth right now. But these guys are doing their job, just staying consistent right now. About 10 laps to go.
The three-car trio of Hicksonbaugh, Caldwell, and Simmons all nearing each other. Simmons on the attack of Caldwell, Caldwell on the attack of Hicksonbaugh, and on the defense, trying to make sure that he doesn't let Simmons catch up to him. And, of course, Hicksonbaugh just trying to set his best pace right now with those older tires. About a 5-lap difference, and I think 2 or 3 of those were under green. So Hicksonbaugh definitely a little bit worse for wear right now. Granted, under caution, he was running a bit at pace as well, trying to catch back up to the field. So definitely a disadvantage right now for Hicksonbaugh, and you can see it at work. Caldwell is just all over the 63 under the slow corners. So the low-speed corners, Caldwell definitely catches right up to him. Just can't do anything with him yet. Looking through the field, this is about the best battle we have. The next best would be Wineland, Delaney, and Drumhiller. They're all battling at the back end of the top 10. These guys all at the stage points for now. But, obviously, they could slip up, have an issue. Kevin Steele is not that far back. The driver of the 44 currently sitting in 11th, Hammond behind him. These guys could be poised to make a late charge up to the top 10.
Yeah, the 44 car, we haven't really talked about Kevin Steele. He's had a pretty quiet day running back there in 11th. He's been pretty tame there for the most part, keeping himself calm, steady, and running around where he can. That 44 car has just been doing whatever it can to just stay smooth, stay consistent, and that's exactly what he's been. I don't think he's really done much to fall up or down in the running order, so that's pretty good for himself. The 11 car, though, he's been a little hit or miss in these last few corners, the last few laps. He went to the carousel like the last time round, but the time before that, so lap 30, he went through there really wide. They came out of the corner and almost lost it. He just came through turns 10 up to 11. Now he went off racetrack. So I keep talking about how aggressive he gets. It's showing more and more and more because he's really struggling to hit these corners he does. You see the fight now going on between Wineland, Drumhiller, and the 6 car of Jonathan Delaney back there for the final positions of the stage point run, as Eric Wineland now in the middle of that sandwich of the 6 car trying to do what he can. He's going to try and send it up there to get her back around a 30 car, and that's going to open up the door for the 44. He's starting to close in a little bit to try and take over the 10th spot. So this could be a 4-car spot to try and get himself up there and fight to see who will get that single stage point. Because now you see the 10th car, he's closing up the gap. The 44 is closing up the gap to the 10th spot. Christopher Hamon's not that far back. He's closing up, and so is Jeremy Morrison. So with these guys fighting, that's really opening up the door for a lot of people to try and capitalize against stage point. And just look at how many cars are there.
The only thing that's missing right now at this point from having a 6 or 7 car bout is the ability, or rather the thing that's making that a potential reality is Wineland being able to overtake whether or not he can overtake the number 30 machine. But he's going to be side by side here as we head here into turn 7, and he's going to be pretty confident on the braking. He'll be absolutely clear as we head into the apex of the corner. So right now we have about what could be about a 5-car bout right now. Kevin Steele is right now the first car outside of the top 10 position. So he's going to have to, settle into this rhythm here as we go left, right, left, right, left, right through the S's. But all it takes is one mistake from Jonathan Delaney, and he's right back in contention.
Kevin Steele going to be all over Delaney soon, I think. He's definitely reeling the 6-car in, the Penn State Chevrolet. Not quite looking up to pace with the Exalta 44. We'll see how things work out. Hammond, though, is starting to pressure Steele a little bit as they all run closer to each other. Drumhiller even all over the TV panel there of Wineland through turn 11. I don't think Drumhiller is necessarily looking to pass, because considering he let him by in turn 7. But Drumhiller might be proving me wrong here in a moment, because he is still he was still all over the back of Wineland out of 11. He backed off a little bit down that short front straightaway and is now a little ways back of him through turn 2. So he might be trying to finally ease back, which is going to bring Delaney into that battle. That is for 9th place. Wineland gets through to 8th position. There we go. So Delaney now is looking for 9th, hard on the brakes for turn 4, a very sketchy braking zone because you're so used to getting up on the power out of turn 3 and settling in for that bit of a straightaway down to turn 4. It's not quite the case anymore. You have that earlier turn 4, that sharp right-hander into the infield, and it's really tough to make work. I shouldn't say the infield, but down to the carousel, rather. It's really tough to make work in one of these big, heavy stock cars. That said, back when this place was still Sears Point, that was the course. That was the only course these guys knew.
Yeah, you talk about kind of a little bit of the struggle trying to get into where turn 4 and 5 is. Because it's more to the fact because of the elevation changes, because you come off of turn 3A up to turn 4, and you're trying to get on the brakes to make the turn in there, but it's a downhill section as it is. So you're kind of at the corner, you're trying not to cause tire spin to lose like we've seen there in the past, but you're also just trying to get on the brakes and overshoot turn 4, because that's very easy to do just because of the fact that you're trying to stop the momentum that you have already going there. You saw Wineland struggling a little bit. He falls back to the 9th position. That's going to let Jonathan Delaney take a peek to the inside, as that's going to close up the door to Haman and Steele now, as they're going side by side a little bit. There's this train of cars for these last stage spots just still heat up more and more and more as we get close to the end of the stage. It's going to be very interesting to see if any of these guys make a mistake and who's going to capitalize on it and get those stage points for heading into stage 3.
When Eric Wineland first got around the number 30 machine of Drumhiller, I thought that was it. I thought he was going to start pulling, but he's proving, I think, all of us wrong in the commentary's booth. We thought he was going to start to push his way through the field here, get up to the back end of the top 5, but right now he's fighting for his life in the last couple of stage points. So excellent job by Randy Drumhiller to cool the oh, and he goes off. So right as I'm speaking, the commentator's curse comes back into effect. That's absolutely commonplace here on Pit Stop TV. Hammond, he's going to make his way into the final stage points position right now. He's top 10. He does blink out a little bit, but he's going to keep his connection consistently enough right now. So we have a 3-dog fight here. We're going to come down into the first hairpin here on the circuit. Turn 7 here. All it takes for that number 6 machine to get back into that 10th place position is, overcooking the entry for the number 17, but he's going to hang on to it for now as we head through the S's.
Hammond made a very unorthodox pass in turn 4. Not quite a passing zone just because the racing line is so narrow, but they made it work, and he got right on by Delaney, who now goes wide into 8 just a little bit. He keeps his position anyways over the hard-charging Kevin Steele. These guys, though, now 11th and 12th, so Steele a little ways out of the points. Hammond overtook him, I do believe, to get into that position, and then, of course, got by Delaney that we saw in turn 4. And Wineland is just all over the place, very inconsistent right now, which is not quite what we've seen with him since Charlotte. He's been so good in recent weeks, but right now definitely struggling to keep that car underneath him. And likewise, Trey, I thought once he got by Drumhiller, that 31 was going to set sail. That has not been true at all. He's definitely struggling. I think he just is a little better when he has a car to chase. I thought I saw somebody very sideways back here. It may have been Delaney. Regardless, Drumhiller looking pretty stout right now. A little bit slower, I think, than Wineland, but definitely more under control.
Yeah, just an update again on what the leading situation is now. As you see at the top of your screen, Montanelli right now has just gone away with the lead. He's opened up to about 3 seconds, a little bit on a Saturday afternoon drive here in the Sonoma Valley, Napa Valley, whatever you want to call it, here at Sears Point, as he makes his way down the S's. The 63 car takes him ball. I'm gonna give him credit where credit's due. He has his older tires. He's still holding on pretty solidly to that second position. He's done everything right. And it just proves how really well balanced he is, kind of like Potaska and Kerner were. He's running up to second up until the point where he wrecked. Like we talked about in the pre-race, one small mistake ruins your race, and that's what happened for stage 1. But he's rebounded very well. He started on pole with older tires that he started off for stage 1, and then after that, he just comes in, takes the lead for stage 2, and he's been holding on. The lowest he's been has been that second spot where he is right now since the beginning of stage 2, so he's held on very consistently in the 63 car, and he sets himself up for a pretty good position to try and take another win to add to that C post along the side of that C post heading into the few remaining races they have left for the regular season.
When we talked to him in between that, in between stage 1 and stage 2, he seemed pretty disappointed because I thought he had it worked out pretty well. You know, we'll stay out, we'll get to the head of the pack. You know, we'll settle it. But it had appeared that that wasn't going to be the case when he wasn't able to catch up as guys came in for their yellow flag pit stops. But fortunately, timing and scoring came to his aid. Said we're going to put you here at the top of the leaderboard. Like we said, he's on tires that are about 5 laps older than the rest of these guys right now. But he's keeping very consistent in terms of lap time. And in fact, last lap, he was only 0.03 of a second off of race leader Montanelli right now. As we go back to that battle for the last couple of stage points, Wineland has gotten past the number 30 machine. I believe that was near the back end of the circuit, as in like 10, 11, and 12. I wasn't looking at that at the time. My apologies. But right now, he's not pulling away like he was initially. And now Drumhiller, he's under pressure from that number 17 machine.
You saw right there, Hammond stuck his nose to the inside of Drumhiller out of turn 6, down the hill. Definitely a sketchy place to do it. I think Hammond has pace. It's just a matter of picking the right passing opportunities, and he's getting there. I just think he's got to be a little more patient with these guys. I mean, he passed Delaney in a really weird spot in turn 4. It worked that time, but it won't work every time. And then he tried getting Drumhiller out of 6 down the hill when you're really just hanging on to that car. I don't think it's going to work out, as he's going to go sideways through 9, lose that position in the back end of the S's to Delaney. So put Delaney back into the top 10. Suddenly, that Penn State machine looking decent as he gets back on by the number 17. Maybe a bit of a late run surge from this number 6. He was right there to capitalize on the 17 when he needed to. Wineland ahead of Drumhiller, though, and I'm not so sure that battle will come back to him unless Wineland makes a mistake. Drumhiller then would be the next car for Delaney to set his sights on, but I really think it's just going to be a battle between the 6 and 17. Usually numbers that are teammates in the NASCAR Cup Series. Here, though, completely separate teams and completely separate agendas, as you saw. The 17 just got very loose down the back end of those S's, and we're going to see if he can maybe set Delaney back up for a pass. Maybe in turn 4, but that would be another sketchy. Again, that would be a sketchy place to do it. Into turn 4, he will. Ooh, he got in there really deep and almost took out the right rear of the number 6.
Yeah, I was just talking about when you started talking about the fact that the 5 cars that you saw there kind of started to spread out a little bit more and were able to finally get away from each other to try and bide their time. But as soon as I come up, it just happens to see the 6 car get loose out of the carousel. These two just closed the door on each other, and now that 4 car breakaway is there. You see Hammond gonna take the dive bomb up into the first of the hairpin. He's gonna try and pin it on the inside. He's gonna get there. Oh, they're about to touch, I believe. I'm not sure. I think one of the cars disappeared in the 6 car. Someone's disappeared. I can't see one of them.
Yeah, that was Hammond.
Yeah, so
Hammond.
Yeah, so Christopher Hammond has disappeared. Now it's going to leave the 6 car in a very weird state, because now he has to wonder what's going to happen. He's going to reappear. Where is he going to reappear? Is he going to reappear around him? That just puts Kevin Steele up there into the 11th spot now, as he's fallen off the pace a little bit from where the other leaders are. So again, still holding on to about the 11th or 12th spot, but just holding on to what he can to get as much points as he can coming to the end of this race.
Wineland down the pit lane.
So Eric Wineland, he's going off sequence here by pitting here early. So he's going to be on slightly older tires, about 3 lap older tires here. Given that he's going to pit for 4 tires here, he's not going to go a lap down, I don't think, from where he is. He's sitting about 30 or 40 seconds ahead of the race leader here. So we'll see if the jack's going to go up or not. Jack does go up on the right side, so we're going to go ahead and say that he's going to be taking 4 tires. So, in the case of the number 17 machine of Christopher Hammond, he falls back to P11. So he really doesn't lose many positions. He just loses a lot of track position. But in the least, he's going to get a yellow flag here. He's going to get a reset here in a couple of laps. So right now, the last guy with a stage point is Kevin Steele. He's in P10, and he doesn't have too much competition because Christopher Hammond right now, he stands about 3 or 4 seconds back of him right now. So close battles right now are for that P8 position between Drumhiller and the number 6 to Jonathan Delani, and then also P5 with Richard Petrucco and Cameron Stone.
So Cameron Stone nearing the back end of Petrucco. One battle that we did miss while we were covering everything further back in the top 10 was, of course, Caldwell losing the 3rd position to Logan Simmons. That was some time ago. Now Caldwell going to opt to come down the pit lane, so a strategy call made there by the driver of the number 12. He's going to come in for service. and he's the only driver, I think, in the top 10 to do this aside from Eric Wineland. I don't see anybody else having pitted, so Caldwell, Wineland on the same strategy. Now, that's a bit tricky. I wonder if Montanelli had gotten to the line yet to close the pit lane. I think Caldwell was okay, but it's very, very close, and we weren't quite watching. I can see if we can bring up the exact moment he comes down the pit lane and just check real quick. I'll do this live, in fact. So Montanelli is going to be, let's see, that's where Caldwell pits. Montanelli is, wow, that's perfect. You couldn't have written that better because, of course, when the leader takes 2 laps to go, pits are closed, that's it. Caldwell made the decision to come in about 500 feet short for Montanelli to get to the start-finish line. That was perfect.
Yeah, but here's what my idea is. You talk about the pit lane going off sequence. This is kind of the same strategy we saw out of the 63 car, what Wineland and Caldwell are doing. They're going to pit early. They realize, okay, you know what? I'm not really going to get that much stage points to where it matters. Wineland already has the win. He doesn't need to care. Caldwell, on the other hand, was a little bit surprised by it because he's 20th in points, 120 points back. So those stage points could have gone a long way for him. So surprised he pitted back from 3rd. But obviously, now what's going to happen is those 2 are going to stay out, and they're going to start on the front row. So that's going to give them and the Catbird seat the same way Hicksonbot was for the start of stage 2, and that's going to stick the 11 car back to about 3rd or 4th, depending where he comes out because of the 63 car. But as now they come to the white flag, the 11 car just has 11 more turns. He's going to collect and sweep the first 2 stages here in Sonoma.
If I'm not mistaken, Noah, I believe Cam Caldwell is relative to... Oh, no, he's 20th in points. So here's, coming into tonight, he's 128 points back of P16, the first spot in the playoffs. So I definitely think he's thinking, I need to put myself in some sort of situation where I can go for a race win. And that track position at the start of the stage, it's an excellent way to get up there because passing at Sonoma is so difficult. And then once the tires break, it just gets that much worse because not only are you wrestling with your competitors, but you're also wrestling a 3,600-pound stock car, 750 plus horsepower, and there's a pretty small spoiler on the back compared to the 2019 NASCAR season. So these guys are absolutely wrestling the cars through the corners without all of that downforce. Absolutely fighting for grip at a track like Sonoma.
Absolutely. So the last lap here of stage number 2, Montanelli with a 2.8 second advantage over Hicksonbot. Now this stage win isn't totally wrapped up for Montanelli just yet. That said, again, it's almost 3 seconds between these two, and really there's only 1 car ahead of the number 11 as far as traffic goes. This field definitely getting a better handle on themselves this second go around than in stage number 1. So Montanelli almost clear sailing here to the end of stage 2 and should get his second stage win on the evening and on the season. Montanelli looking very, very good for the rest of this race. We're going to have about 45 laps to go once we restart, somewhere in that nature, as Montanelli is going to exit turn number 11, head down to turn 12, and claim his second stage win on the evening. A very good run so far out of Montanelli, and he passed Hicksonbot straight up. Granted, Hicksonbot was on those older tires, so now all eyes turn a little further back in the field to those battles for position. Most of them have blown up a bit with Wineland pitting and with Caldwell pitting, but we do still have one right towards the back end of your top 10. Delaney over Drumhiller could still heat up, and those two have swapped since we were last on them. They could still switch positions. Drumhiller about a half second off of Delaney right now as they round turn number 10. I don't think that position will switch. Kevin Steele will come in 9th. And Cam Caldwell will somehow hang on to a top 10 for stage number 2. He'll be the final car to exit turn 11 and come down to your stage conclusion. Everything ahead of these guys stays static. And so across the start-finish line, this should give us our caution. Cam Caldwell is going to take the 10th position in stage number 2, the last stage point. So Alex Montanelli with his second stage win on the evening. The number 11 just looking so, so good. Unfortunately, again, I don't think we're going to have the chance to speak with our stage number 2 and stage number 1 winner, rather. So we'll look through the field. We will come right back. We'll step away once more, kind of gather our notes, gather ourselves, and come right back to you here for pit stops in just a moment. This is continuing live coverage from Sonoma of the Galaxy Cup Series in the Pits News 350. We welcome you back to Sonoma Raceway. Pit stops now underway. You see Montanelli headed down the pit lane. He's obviously going to come in for service. Hicksonbaugh behind him. These two, the class of the field so far. Another driver who's been pretty speedy, though, is Cam Caldwell. We'll be talking to him here in just a few moments after these guys get their pit stops in. So Hicksonbaugh going to be off and away here pretty quickly. There goes Caldwell. He'll retake, or sorry, not retake, but he will take the race lead, which gives us a perfect excuse to speak with the driver of the number 12. Montanelli slow in the pit lane. He's still sitting there, has not left his pit stall just yet. He's still in the pit lane. I think he's been known, and I don't want to say this the wrong way. I'm going to tread lightly here. He's been known for leaving races early and not committing to the full event. I wonder if this is the same thing. I don't think he's running the full event. I think he just got those 2 stage wins and is going to park it.
So, oh, sorry.
You know, it's all good. Yeah, so yeah, it's one of those things. Good thing about Montanelli is, yeah, so he's gonna go back out. The thing about Montanelli is he's not eligible for the playoffs. He's in the same position as Eddie Kerner, Dallas Potasio. He's just doing this for fun for the most part, trying to get what he can. So I think he's just having fun at this point because he knows he's not going to be in position to go win a championship. So he doesn't really have anything to gain or lose from this besides track position. So maybe he's going to try and play the long strategy game, stay back there, maybe not get wrecked, or maybe he had some other thing he needed to go do in real life, so that forced him to get off the sim rig for a bit. But still, it's going to put Cam Caldwell in a pretty good spot. I talked about this. He pitted earlier, and now he finds himself up there at the top end of the field on shotgun running in the lead. The one person I'm surprised who pitted is Eric Wineland. That was the one guy I was surprised he pitted, because he pitted a lap before Caldwell, and he decided to go down pit road and stay out. So I don't know if that was a strategy call or why he even pitted in the first place then.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out here when we get back green what's going to happen. I mean, regardless for, lost my train of thought, the number 11 of, Montanelli, there we go. He's going to be able to gain a lot from this because just in terms of the ability to get through a field here at Sonoma, being able to learn that, he's going to get the opportunity to do that because he started up near the front, and I think he has the pace to come up through the field and gain a lot of spots. And like you said, he's not in the run for a playoff position, so I think this will give him a chance to have a bit of fun out there as opposed to maybe being able to pull away from the field if he does have the best pace out here tonight.
We're going to quickly see if we can still get Cameron Caldwell, and for that, I'll turn it over to Noah Carmichael.
Cam Caldwell, Snow Carmichael, open a booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
So an interesting play out of you. You're running up there in the top 3 and top 5 for most of the race, and you decided to pit from 3rd place at the end of stage 2. What was the call there to make you want to go with that?
I don't know. I just felt like I need clean air and I can just go because I know I was faster than Bryson and Alex, but I got hit from behind by Logan and it ruined my tires. So there wasn't much I could do there. But I think once we get going here, I should be okay.
You talked about trying to catch up to Alex. I believe that you're faster than him. What has it been like trying to catch up to him and then keep up with him as even with that point, just trying to get around this twisty, tight bends that make up Sonoma?
I don't know. I've been catching them mostly in the hard braking zones, like the hairpin and the double right-handers. And so I know if I can just maximize those areas, I can gain. And it just gets down to passing them. But now we have the lead, so hopefully we can hang on.
And now that you do have the stage lead, what is the game plan now for these last 50 laps of this state that makes up stage number 3?
I'll lead them all, hopefully. See what we can get here.
Alright, well good luck with that. Hopefully we get to speak to you here at the end of the race.
Thank you.
Alright, so that is Cam Caldwell. He was able to get that 10th stage point after that late pit stop. Now he's going to restart on pole position here for the final 50 laps of stage number 1. Lining up to the right side of him, I believe that is going to be Bryson Hicksonbaugh. No, that's the left side of him, my bad. So Bryson Hicksonbaugh going to land up on the left side. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he's going to be able to do here and who's going to get the early jump going into turn number 1.
Okay, we have gotten a delay in terms of going green this time by, so we're going to get one more lap here of pacing to get these guys that got to wave around or had to pit for repairs. So we're going to get the opportunity to catch up here to the back of the field. So we're going to have a couple more minutes here before we head into green flag action. Cam Caldwell is going to be leading right now. Bryson Hicksonbaugh, he's going to be in that P2 position. And then Druco, Cameron Stone, and Cody Goes are going to round out your top 5 right now.
And you know what? Since we have a little bit of extra time, Trey, I'll turn it right back over to you. We have Cameron Stone in the waiting for a quick interview before we go green.
Cameron Stone, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
You know, we haven't talked about you too much today, Cameron. You've been pretty quiet there up front. You know, you went off course once or twice and lost a couple of positions, but you seem to be doing pretty consistently out there so far. How are you feeling about your chances here?
I don't know if we got much of a chance to win. This one, we really just wanted to survive. And, you know, we've already seen with Eddie and Dallas taking each other out. I'm not sure what happened to the 11 here, but, you know, if those guys at the front keep taking each other out, and we're riding along quietly in, you know, 3rd, 4th place, we might luck ourselves into one here.
I'm sure you'd be absolutely happy with the race win, but I'm sure you'll also be content if you're able to hang on to a top 5 today.
Oh, absolutely. If I finish the race without damaging the car at all, which we've done so far today, so if we can keep it clean to the end, I'm going to be happy with that.
Yep, we are halfway. Only 45 more laps. Well, that's going to be more than an hour of action. So do you take a liking to the road courses? If I'd have to guess, for most drivers, this isn't their favorite. Probably enjoy Watkins Glen or the Roval more.
Yeah, I'd say Watkins Glen's probably my favorite road course. I do kind of like this one. My favorite track's Martinsville, so this one kind of reminds me of that. It's got a lot of low speed, flat hairpins, you know. But yeah, this one's been a really tough one. Car's been loose all day, but really there's nothing I could do to change it and still have decent speed, so we're just hanging on to it.
All right, thanks for your time, Cameron. Couple more corners to the green. Anyone you want to thank out here tonight?
Well, I want to thank my girlfriend for putting up with me putting a lot of time into this. Had to run a lot of laps this week to get ready. I want to thank my spotter, Matthew Norcutt. He's been helping me a lot tonight, telling me where other guys are entering corners and braking, things like that. So yeah, definitely want to thank them.
All right, thank you for your time, Cameron.
Thank you, fellas.
That was Cameron Stone, driver of the number 57 Klondike Ford Mustang, I believe. Yes, it is a Ford. Okay, so we're coming here to turns 11 and 12, getting ready for a restart. Number 12 machine, Cam Codwell, he's going to be leading this field of about 20 or so cars that are still left to the green flag. 45 laps of action here to go at Sonoma Raceway.
The green flag flies, Caldwell's off and away, Hixenbaugh going to slot right into 2nd place, of course. Petrucco and Stone going to battle up the hill now for 3rd and 4th positions. They go side by side up through 1 and into 2. Stone on the outside of the corner. You see Steele a little out of line as well further back. He almost kamikazes into a few different cars, hangs on to it though. The battle continues on for 3rd. Stone going to take Petrucco now up through 3 and over 3A, and Stone gets that 3rd spot. Just talk to him. The battle I really want to watch, of course, is going to be for the lead though. Caldwell very confident in his car and his abilities over Hixenbaugh and Montanelli. Of course, Montanelli no longer in this lead battle. He stayed on the pit road for an extended amount of time, so it's now just Hixenbaugh and Caldwell. And again, Caldwell very confident in that car over Hixenbaugh.
Yeah, and Caldwell now with the early race lead as he exits the carousel, making the big giant run up to turn number 7. Is he going to get hard on the brake? Try not to get that wheel hop as they enter the corner. Is this going to create hopefully not create the chance for the 63 car to make the dive bomb to go feed it back into the S's. Here comes the 57 of Cameron Stone in that Klondike machine, trying to do the crossover move on the 27 of Richard Petrucco. Cody Goza, how about that? He's running back there in the 5th position. There's a 3-car fight going on there for the 3rd spot, as the Goza is trying to capitalize on what he could be an incredible day for the 88 car to try to turn it around. He's outside the top 20 in points. He's not in the best position to go try and win stage point, go win a championship, but still a top 5 go a long way for the momentum for himself to try and go after the playoffs if he's eligible for that, in fact. But still, right now, Cam Caldwell out to an early race lead of Bryson Hixenbaugh, still hard on his tail trying to get around that number 12 car and take back the race lead.
Yeah, you're right, Noah. Being able to compete for championship honors, you know, it's not that fortunate, but there aren't many better feelings than iRacing than being able to go out there and complete a long race like this, where you're in the virtual cockpit for 2 or 3 hours at a time. Just being able to bring it home at a place like Sonoma in itself is a pretty big honor. We have a close battle for the lead here right now. 63 machine has really closed up on the 12 here in the first couple of laps here. Actually, well, this is the 2nd lap of the stage of green flag action, and you know, he's keeping consistent pressure like we saw between Kerner and Patoska in the early stages right now. But unlike those two, the 12 is on slightly older tires here. Opposite situation for Hixenbaugh as he was in the 2nd stage.
yeah, the roles have been reversed now. Hixenbaugh was on the slightly older tires and trying to hold off Caldwell in the early goings of stage number 2, turn it around, and now Caldwell is on older tires trying to hang on to that spot over Hixenbaugh. The difference is that these guys are battling for the race lead, not for second place. So Hixenbaugh definitely putting the pressure right now on Caldwell. That said, these guys still have over 40 laps to go to the end of this race. They can't get too worried about this battle right now. Hixenbaugh, I think, just has to pace himself, let the track come to him, let those tires come to him, and let those tires in the number 12, more importantly, wear off. And I think he's got the car to do it for sure. I love Caldwell's confidence, though. I'm just not so sure that he's going to be able to hang on to it. I mean, we saw even before that contact that Hixenbaugh just looked a little bit better.
You see the 63 still over the back bumper, waiting for the right time. Much of what we saw, what Dal Patasco was trying to pull in Eddie Kerner, just biding his time, trying to wait for the right moment to try to capitalize and pounce on a number 12 car, and hopefully not end up on his roof. As they ended up going up to the uphill of turn number 1, through the blinding section, trying to go over the crest of the hill, diving back down, setting it back up for turns 3 and 3A. The 63 still trying to reel him in. Richard Petrucco behind, trying to close the gap to him. So it's close to becoming a 3-car fight for the race leader, even second spot, which is exactly what that 12 car wants to see. Because if the 63 car is up in a fight with 27, that's really going to open a door for him to open up a gap to get a little bit of breathing room to try and get the run going, to open up that gap to try and get himself into a position where he can just calm down, not kill his tire, to just manage the strategy a little bit more. But here comes the 63, aggressive out of the carousel. He's going to line up perfectly for a pass.
He struggled through the rhythm sections, but here as we get into an overtaking zone, he's right on the rear end of that number 12 machine. He's not going to have the overtaking opportunity here, it doesn't look like, and we're going to get into the rhythm section, or the S's, but as they're more commonly referred to as. So he's going to have to set up here, look for an overtake here in turns 11 and 12 right now. He's about half a second back here from the number 12 machine, just staying consistent, doing what Patasco was doing in the first stage, which is trying to force a mistake out of the 12 and make it easy for him.
If I'm being honest, right now, Caldwell looks like the better driver, but Hixenbaugh has better tires and possibly a better car underneath him. And I'm just not so sure how that battle is going to work out. So this is a great battle that these guys are setting up for, but I really fear for Caldwell just having those extra laps. We saw how important that was for Hixenbaugh. I mean, he was much slower, I think, than Montanelli at the start of stage number 2, and I expect much of the same here as the laps wind down. Granted, the 63 I don't think is quite as fast in the short run as Montanelli was. I think that's why Caldwell is still your race leader. Caldwell just hanging on, though. It really seems like everywhere that the tires should help the 63, they are. Oh, as he gets sideways in the under braking for turn number 3. Anyways, as I was trying to get to, I think everywhere that his tires should help him, they are, and it's just where the driver matters a little more that Caldwell is still hanging on to that spot. Caldwell seems like the slightly better road racer, but of course Hixenbaugh has the better tires.
Yeah, obviously the 63 car, he has those win stickers all lined up around that race car for a reason. With that 12 car, still trying to get his first, because even though Hixenbaugh, all he wants to do is get another win to get himself more and more points for the stage, for the playoffs. The 12 car is in a position where he has to win, so he's going to lock it up, and that's going to open the door. Here we go, they're going to be side by side going to the S's, and the 12 car is going to be relentless, but now he's flat spotted. He's turned those tires from circles into level bricks. He gets very loose and he holds on to it and holds on to the race lead. But he's gonna go wide. We can open the door for the C3 car. But all this is done is open the door for the 27, the 88, the 57, and the 17, and they have really closed the gap. But now the 12 car's tires are gonna be smoking hot. And those front tires and those rectangles, as now he's just driving on cement blocks trying to hold on to that 12 car.
The 12 oversteers like
crazy. Petrucco!
The car back. Petrucco to the inside. We're going to be 3-1.
Oh, they're going to wreck. Goza hits him.
They wreck.
Goza gets into the 27 machine. Petrucco's going to fall outside the top 10 easily.
He's sent him to Gilligan's Island. You gotta hate to see it.
So Petrucco's going to currently fall. Timing and scoring shows him in P10 right now. Unfortunate, because he was running in P3 before that incident. And he was looking at P2 alongside Hixenbaugh. And now Hixenbaugh is going to be absolutely clear, and he's going to be able to focus on getting back to that lead. He's about a second and a half outside of the lead right now. We're going to watch the replay right now. So you see both of these guys absolutely overcook the corner. The 27 more So then
No, that
63
wasn't Hicksonbaugh's fault at all. Petrucco just completely blew the corner, and then he came back across, and that's when Goza caught him. Goza did nothing wrong either. Petrucco just, unfortunately, his race just completely went out the window. And I want to give the onboard here, if we can. Petrucco just completely missed the braking zone for 11, got a little bit overzealous, and on board with him here, just, I mean, you can see, Hicksonbaugh did nothing wrong, and if anything, he's lifting off the brake pedal to try and not get clobbered, and the 27's just going to carry him out to no man's land, and then come back across, and that's where the spin happens.
Yeah, but an update on Cody Goza as well. He actually overshot up in turn number 1 and went off into the sand, so he's fallen off pace a lot. I was trying to find a way to squeeze it in there while you guys were reviewing the replay, but sadly there was just enough time. So he's fallen off the pace, so move him back from the 3rd spot, wherever he is, and he fell down. But the fight, even after all that chaos that happened, is still raging on. Hicksonbaugh is still catching up to the 12 car, and he's still in the back bumper, even a lap later. So this fight for the race lead is not over. So just as you thought, as maybe a breathing room has been given to the 12 car where he can finally take a break, nope, not so much. The 63 car is already right behind him is Hicksonbaugh, and that firehouse 63 car, the same paint scheme that he went on to go win Charlotte with, is now all over the back bumper to 12 again, heading up into turn number 1, as he might try to make a move now this time by. And also a guy who's really benefited from all this, Cameron Stone, he's now back up into the 3rd spot, so an incredible run for him right now here in the closing moments here of in the later half of this race.
The Goodyear Eagles on that number 12 machine are right now absolutely screaming. The number 63 was about 1.2 seconds quicker on that last lap, and now he's already looking at probably an overtaking chance as long as he executes here the carousel to perfection. He might be alongside the number 12 machine as we head into turn 7. He's almost side by side as we go into the carousel. Let's see if he's able to hold it as we exit the carousel. He's going to look for the crossover here. No, he's going to stay along the outside. Not going to have it, but all he needs is to outbreak him like Daniel Ricciardo with a pure bravery, and he might have a shot.
Caldwell still hangs on to the race lead. You can see, well, this is a wide shot from the blimp. They're still a little ways apart, a little under a car length between them as they round turn 7, now head down to the S's. And this is, again, where I think Caldwell is just a little bit better than Hicksonbaugh and definitely uses the car to his advantage, but those tires are just helping Hicksonbaugh even after that big slide through 11, getting those tires a little bit dirty, obviously by virtue of Rich Petrucco. Nothing Hicksonbaugh did wrong, and I'm very surprised that Hicksonbaugh recovered so quickly, got right back to Caldwell so quickly. It is all over the back end of the number 12 again. Might cross him up here out of 11. He looks low. He has a run for a moment. I don't think he can get the power down quite as well as he needed to, though. Cameron Stone, I will say, in 3rd place, might start to run these guys down just a little bit.
Yeah, but I talked about at the beginning of this race, this is such a rhythm track. If you have the rhythm down and you're set, and that's exactly what the 12 car has, and then one of the most important places on the track to have that rhythm section going for you is those S's, because those are the final few corners. If you can get it going through there, and you can get hooked on rails and just close down the gap, and that's what the 12 car is able to do with that Chevrolet, better than Hicksonbaugh can as he hits the apex going to turn number 4, now sitting for turn number 5. This is where Hicksonbaugh has the run up against the 12 car, because he's able to try and pull up a little bit of a cross move and even able to somewhat hold on the outside. So if he can get side by side with him, he might be able to get the run, but he knows that he can't do it on the left side, so he has to try and cross him up on the right side. And so here they come out of that corner, heading up to turn number 7, quickly in the draft. He might try to take a move on the right side. No, he's actually going to try and maybe take the long way around and outbrake him, or maybe set him up for the crossover, heading back up into the S's. It's not going to happen, but all this has really done is close up the door for the 57, as now the 57 car is on the back bumper of the 63 car. So now the 3 car fight for the race lead, trying to see who makes the first mistake.
Cameron Stone was not that confident that he was going to have the pace to catch these top 2 here when we talked to him in between stages. But right now he stands within a couple of seconds here of the leaders, and all they need to do is keep battling hard. And Cameron Stone can find himself at the top of that podium right now. He sits on the bottom of the podium right now in P3, but right now he only stands about less than a second actually behind these top 2. They're going to be starting. Oh, he overcooks it. Ooh. Everyone's going to make it out
Stone
alive.
just never hit the brake pedal until he was in the corner. I don't think I've seen a send that hard in a long time. That said, Caldwell still has a mirror full of Hicksonbaugh as they round turn 1 up the hill for turn 2. Hicksonbaugh was really hard on the brakes there as well, really late on the brake pedal, and nearly got into the back of Caldwell, and then Stone just out of nowhere followed him to the 3rd degree, I think, just flying in there like a bat out of hell. And I don't know where he was expecting to go. Obviously, I don't think he meant to cook the corner quite that badly. That said, Caldwell still leading this race by about a car length and a half over Hixenbaugh at any given point. I think that's about average. That said, Hixenbaugh very slow out of 4 that time.
Yeah, obviously he's had a little bit of a shake-up, so he's probably a little bit shaken after 2 run-ins going into that final corner. I believe even Cameron Stone is a teammate of his, if I'm correct. So to see your teammate almost take you out there, it's just not something you want to see, especially when you're trying to go for the race win. So they set him up again, trying to go through the S's. He's going to try and set him back up for turn 11 again. The 12 car is still really strong through these S's. If he can hook those corners right, which he has been doing for the last few laps, which really just lets him open up a gap to the point where 63 car can't get the run to make something happen, as now they get ready to set it down towards turns number 8, 9, and 10. And now the question is, can he set it up? Because he's been struggling in turn 10 a little bit, that 12 car has. He's gone off track a little bit. He's gone wide a little bit, and there he goes. That's going to open the door for the 63 car. He's going to try to take the long way around, believe it or not. That's something interesting to see. He's going to try to set up. Maybe get the crossover move back to the corner. No, he's just going to hold on to it. Oh, he gets a little tail happy spinning out of there.
Auditioning for initial D there for the number 63 machine. Pretty nice drift. Unfortunately, he's going to lose a little bit of time in the process. And that was Hixenbaugh. That was one of his best overtaking opportunities at that point. Conwell did not get through turn 10 that well. And, I was about to say, the number 57 was going to need a couple laps to cool his tires, but he's within about a second of the leaders yet again. So we could see him striking by the end of the lap if Hixenbaugh can, continue to not be able to overtake the number 12. So as we've been watching the top 3, I think Alex Montanelli is soon going to be knocking on the door. He restarted this stage in around the P14 position. He's already up to P4, and right now he's within 5 seconds of the leaders right now, continuing to consistently rack up very solid, consistent lap times.
As great as this racing has been, we still have at least 1 pit stop to go before this thing ends. We've still got 37 laps last time by the flag stand, coming to 36 the next time by. If math is correct, and it is, definitely. So we've still got a lot of racing to go, at least 1 pit stop, I do believe. These guys still have a lot of racing to figure out and a lot of chances to mess up and recover. This is by no means over. This has been great battling here at the start of stage number 3, the final stage of the race here at Sonoma, but there's still a long ways to go, a long ways for this race to develop. We haven't even scratched the surface of what we'll see over the next 30 so laps, as Caldwell going to defend into turn 11. Bryson Hixenbaugh around the top side, maybe looking for the crossover. He's been trying that a couple of times. Obviously, when Caldwell defends, he's got nowhere to go but to the outside to see if he can do something with it. It hasn't worked out just yet. Caldwell definitely showing off that he can defend into a corner. He knows what to do to keep that 63 behind him. But that's just bringing Stone right back into the battle. And you guys mentioned those two are teammates, and they could try to find a way together to get on by Caldwell, as now Hixenbaugh looking to the inside, and maybe he thought about it for a moment, going to the inside of the 12 and 3. Not a great place to do it. I liken that to Petrucco trying to pass Delaney twice in turn 4. Thankfully, the second time he didn't try it. It worked out once. I don't think it was going to work out that second time. As, wow, Stone sideways out of 4. This battle going to rage on, but there's still so much racing to go, and Montanelli is only 4 seconds back.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about, is these three, in fact, are just fighting so hard for the race lead, and their lap times are struggling because of it. Yeah, they're taking the defensive line on the race lead, but the number one thing they need to worry about is number 11, because Cam Caldwell's last time was a 42.2 to Montanelli's 40.8, so that's almost a 2-second lap difference. So he is closing the gap, he's closing the hardest. Oh, the 63 car almost made contact with the 12 car heading to the S's, but now he almost had the preferred line going to that first stage. Oh, he is really fighting that race car, trying not to wreck. He slammed into that first curve before slamming into the second one. That really upset the car. It's not what you want to do. Is now those three are just feeding into a train heading up into turn number 10. So expect maybe a move from one of these guys to try and take a position. But still, keep your eye on that 11, because he's getting closer, closer, and closer. And if he gets there, then this race is almost over for all of them. He can get around him.
Little bit of lockup for the 63, and it's going to cost him. He's going to drop back to the P3 position as a result. So now let's put those teammates 1 and 2 right now, although that number 11 machine is currently knocking on the door. He only stands 2.5 seconds back right now as we head up the hill. Number 12, Cam Conwell, did a pretty good job of holding a defensive line there into turn 11, yes. And that puts him with a teammate rather right behind him. So he has some defense, although that 57 machine has also shown that he has pretty solid pace. You know, as we're getting to the mid stages of stage 3 here, you have to think, when are these guys going to think of pitting? I did do it twice, and at least, you know, we're getting there. We're getting there. Just like this race is starting to get to the stages where we're going to have to worry about having to pit here. And you have to wonder, as a driver, when is the earliest I can pit, especially if I'm that number 12 machine on a pretty old tire.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, you got to start wondering when these guys want to pit, and I think the winner of this race may just be whoever comes down the pit lane first. But we've only seen these guys go for 20 laps at a time. It really comes down to whoever may have practiced a whole fuel run. It's Caldwell very slow through 7. He is really, I think, starting to feel the effect of those tires being just a little bit older. He doesn't have quite the same grip, especially under that heavy braking into 7 and into 11. It's really opening the door for these guys to go around the top side of the corner and maybe get a run on exit. I think if Stone wants to get by, that's the way he's going to have to do it. It's the way Hixenbaugh was looking to do it not so long ago until he made his mistake about a lap or so ago now. But back to pit stops, I mean, I really have to wonder when the first driver is going to come down the pit lane, as we now have a 4-car battle for the race lead. Montanelli all over Hixenbaugh into 11. Oh, Stone's going to go around. I think that was a missed shift.
And send him to Gilligan's Island as well. Make that a 2P for drivers going there. That's not where the pit road is anymore, boys. As now Cameron Caldwell is still with the race lead. That's going to promote the 63 up to 2nd and promote the 11 up to 3rd. So that takes the 57 out of the equation for the race lead. You talk about the pit stops. I haven't really seen these guys make about 20 laps. We went back to racing at about, I'd say, 45 or so. So they've been on these for about 15 to 20 laps, so I'd expect them to maybe pit around lap 60 to 70 if they could really stretch it out. But even then, you're at 70 stretching us, and expect them to pit within the next 5 to 6 laps. And that's usually when they've been starting to peak, and you see the 63 car trying to close the gap. Luckily, with that spin, that's created a little bit of a breathing room for the 12 car to maybe back down a little bit, but that 11 car is still just creeping in closer and closer and closer to snatching away that race lead again after sitting on a pit road for so long. What a rebound for him in the 20 laps that it's been since we were racing again.
I wasn't expecting so much action here in the early stages of stage 3. I thought we were going to settle into rhythm pretty quickly, but I mean, we haven't had a chance to breathe until now. And even then, the gap between 1 and 2 is only like 0.7 of a second. Very unlike what we saw in the second stage, but quite similar to what we saw in this first stage. Just throw in a couple more cars while you're at it, though. So Caldwell is going to continue to do his job on older tires. Again, it's only like 2 or 3 laps that his tires have had more... struggling there with my wording. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, his tires are only 2 or 3 laps older, and it just shows how much pain and agony these Goodyear Eagles go through at road courses, especially when the track temps are like 115 degrees here at Sonoma Raceway. Oh, we have a battle for the lead once more.
I mentioned track temps. We're looking at a track temp of about 124 degrees on this asphalt here in Napa Valley, California. Air temp 75, but just the sun beating down on this racetrack. Not a cloud in the sky. Definitely hurting these tires, tearing them up as these two just keep going at it. Really, Hixenbaugh catching right back up to Caldwell like this, I think, is a testament as to what those tires mean even this late in a run. That said, Montanelli has entered the fray, and he is ready to do a battle with these two. Montanelli just looks so good on this long run, and we didn't really get to see it go totally to fruition in those first couple of stages, but now that number 11 really stretching his legs side by side through the carousel. Go Caldwell and Hixenbaugh. This might be it for Caldwell. Hixenbaugh, no, actually does not get a very good run out of 6, and is going to have to sit back, maybe try and cross him up into 7. Can't quite do it just yet. Goes around the outside. Does not even get close to drawing even. Now Montanelli to the inside of Hixenbaugh to turn 7.
Yeah, you want to talk about aggressiveness of how aggressive the 57 and the 63 were against the 12. Now you have the 11. The 11, like I said, is one of the more aggressive racers that you see here in the Galaxy Cup Series. Even though he's only made 2 starts, as Charlotte talked about, he was really aggressive. Now here at Sonoma, he's been aggressive on those tires, and he's still, his tire management is second to none compared to the rest of the field. He had the call from 13, so those tires are murdered. He's still able to make the move to the inside and try and take that second spot, but sadly, not the door isn't there. Just gonna fall back in line and set him back up for another lap and try to wait for the perfect timing. But still, lap after lap after lap, he is creeping up there and able to make himself known as a contender to win these road course races. So you want to talk about a true road course ringer? Well, you're looking at a number 11 car as he is bringing out his true air descent of whatever spirit he has inside of him there, as he has been running around this road course, making his presence known, as he has just been a monster among men like you see Eddie currently almost except making the right turns this time.
So let's go on board a hybrid of the gyro camera. I don't think it adjusts for the amount of banking that these guys undergo, but it's a pretty good shot that we get to see, you know, Alex Montanelli. Oversteer for the number 63 machine, but we get to see him absolutely wield his virtual, I believe it's a Toyota Camry. Yes, sir. He looks out along the inside, rather, the number 63 machine. 63 nearly goes off the circuit here, but he's going to stay on full back to P3. So put Montanelli up to P2. So from the start of the stage, P14 is where he restarted. Already within 20 laps, he's up to second place.
And I'm noticing the 11 just looks really glued to the racetrack, even over the bumps there on the entry of 7, where it really throws these guys for a loop on the braking. The nose isn't moving around much. It's very glued. It looks very stable. Sometimes you see these guys set the cars up to be a little bit higher off the ground, a little bouncy, just to take the curbs a little better, but it really seems like Montanelli has a stiffer setup, at least in the front end. He's going to slide through 10, though. Get into the dirt. He's going to hang on to it. Yes. He loses that second spot, though. Is going to fall way back. And that, I mean, you have to wonder when he's going to come in. Do you want to split this right down the middle, 25 and 25? Or do you want to try and come in a little bit early?
Well, you see that 11 car spins his tires on the exit of the corners. The only person who's really been able to hold on to his tires for the most part has been that 12 car. Because even though he's had a little bit of the lockups here and there, he hasn't really had much issues where the car's been getting loose. You see the 11 car really sends it in deep there, misses the turn completely for there. He's going to lose a lot of time and try and set it back up. But you see the tire fall off going on there for that 11 car where he's pushed it so hard. Now he's just hanging on for dear life. So now the only thing he really has to do now is try and get an undercut to go on here and maybe get around him like we usually see some people do in the Lucky Dog racing division that we cover the entire season. They routed out last Tuesday. A lot of drivers try to perform an undercut and try to make something happen with these pit stops that they have to make, and that's what the drivers are going to have to think about doing now. Because now you have to think about if you can pit earlier, catch him off guard, make your in lap as fast as you can, get in the pits, make your out lap even faster, and then just beat him and beat him on pit lane rather than on the racetrack.
See, Noah, I think the number 12 is the car that's going to want to go with the early pit stop, though, which you can't really undercut yourself when you're the leader, but it's just the fact that he's on those older tires. So if he falls under pressure yet again soon, it might be the right call. But he started to pull a gap on the 63 of Hicks and Ball, so he's 1.5 seconds right now. So while these guys up front have gotten an opportunity to spread out, I think I'll highlight a couple of guys that some of our early departures in the race, such as Jason S. Taylor, Dave Hughes Jr., Zach Probst came into tonight 17 in points. Down on Ryan Samuelson, who didn't start, so I believe he will gain points on Samuelson so he can find himself in the 16th spot yet again.
And the 11 car broke around. The 11 car is spun in the hairpin. Sorry about that.
Nope, thank you, Noah.
He's towed it, so I think his race is now done. I'm sorry about that, but I saw the 11 car go around. I talked about how those tires are killed. Now that's a third car that has gone and sent to Gilligan's Island. Now he's going to send it back to his own pit box. I'll send it back to you, Trey, so you can finish what you were talking about. Apologies.
No, I appreciate it, Noah, because that absolutely changes the landscape of the race. He's already disconnected from the server. I think it's unfortunate because we were going to have a pretty solid at least 3/4 racer to the end. We still have 30 laps to settle it, but unfortunately we're one man down, and we're down the guy who may have been the quickest, although that 12 machine is still showing that he might have the true raw pace out there because he's on older tires, as we were talking about. Just to talk a little bit more about the points picture, 15th and 16th coming into tonight were respectively Cody Bird and Ryan Samuelson, but I don't think either of them showed up tonight. So Zach Probst, despite the fact that he fell out early of the race, he might get back up into that playoff picture as when we leave tonight. Otherwise, Brian Mabry came into tonight. He was 18th. I'm trying to look for him on the leaderboard because I believe he started, but he also disconnected early. So for both guys, missed opportunities here to score a lot of points.
A couple of drivers that are a little lower down your point standings as well. Cody Goza, Jeremy Morrison, they're currently 6th and 7th. Oh, and Goza's going to go around in 7. Is he going to collect Morrison? No, but Goza A big slide there, under braking entry to the corner. Gonna lose that 6th position, but I mean, he hung on to the race car decently well, and we probably missed a million little slip-ups like that throughout the field, but still exciting nonetheless to see a driver get so sideways like that through turn 7. Kevin Steele, we talked about him towards the end of stage number 2. He's sitting 8th. He's broken into the top 10. Of course, a couple of these departures have helped him out. You know, Montanelli, I think, comes to mind for sure. Cameron Stone did fall way back in your field. He's currently now in 5th spot. But he didn't fall nearly as far back as, say, Montanelli, who is disconnected from the race. So, in the middle of those drivers we've been talking about towards the front of the field, and the drivers we just highlighted in Stone, Morrison, Goza, and Steele, I do want to talk about one Jonathan Delaney, the Penn State number 6 Chevrolet Camaro. Looking pretty stout, and I mean, he does have the 57 not so far back, but Jonathan Delaney just doing really good right now, trying to settle in and have a good race. He's been trying to do nothing but that these last few weeks, but has just run into trouble. Likewise, Logan Simmons right now running 3rd place. These two are both en route to a really, really good run if they just hang on to it.
You want to talk about someone else having a pretty good run after a little incident? That's Cameron Stone on the 57. I think you might have already talked about him. Apologies if I repeat here. But, you know, he had that spin at the exit of the hairpin on turn 11, and has been able to turn it around and hold on to that top 5 spot. So he's still in a good position to where if we get a caution, which is very unlikely seeing how the rules have played out here for these race so far with the wrecks, it's just been incredible to see him hold on to that top 5 spot. But my eyes are still on that race lead between the 12 and the 63. The 63 gets a little locked up under braking. He holds on to it there. He's still going to be on the back bumper of him. Those two are still the closest fight on the racetrack, which is just absolutely incredible to see after how aggressive they've been all race. But now to the fact that they don't really have any competition around them, just expect these two to get even more aggressive towards the end of the race, as they have just been at each other tooth and nail since the drop of the green flag. And now I expect either one of these guys are going to win or neither of them going to win, because the leaders are going to wreck again and then put Logan Simmons in the hot seat. There's no problems for Cam Caldwell.
So we're going to go up front to, Caldwell and Elise is still in the lead. We didn't catch what initially happened, Noah. I'm not sure what happened.
No, it was just connection issues. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Still, it's getting a lot tighter up there, though. These two are only separated by about 2 car lengths again, so again, the 63 could be in the position where if the 12 does not execute well through the carousel, he might be able to get alongside him and be, pretty brake and be pretty brave, and he might be able to set up for it. They're going to be side-by-side. Oh, no, never mind. There's a couple of car lengths between them as we go into turn number 7. Hixenbaugh, I think he's looking for a crossover. He might have a chance here. Not going to be side-by-side as we head into 7.
And this is about when the pit window is going to open up, because we're nearing halfway here in this 3rd stage. And if you're wanting to split this down the middle, you might wait a couple more laps. But really, if you want to try and beat somebody you're racing, I think you've got to be the first car down the pit lane, get those fresh tires, get some grip on your race machine. I think Hixenbaugh, if he wants to beat Caldwell, the easiest way to do it is going to be come down the pit lane earlier. Caldwell, on the other hand, could, of course, be the first one down the pit lane and just try to lengthen his gap. So the undercut, I think, is going to be the way to make some passes here. If you can't get by somebody right now on these old tires, try and undercut them, come in a little bit earlier, be a lap or whatever. As actually Caldwell, I think, was sideways gearing up for turn number 12. It's not really a corner that matters a whole lot, but sometimes in these old tires, the back end can walk out from underneath you, going, to the low down for. It's actually, wow, lock up there for Caldwell. He completely blows turn 2. That's going to give the race lead right to Bryson Hixenbaugh. I was talking about these old tires definitely presenting an issue for corners like turn number 12 and the low downforce package of old, making you so sideways there was a little bit of kinks. It kind of definitely threw that number 12 sideways, and I think he's just fighting with the older tires than Hixenbaugh. You're going to see he just totally blows
They're side by side in the carousel.
Turn number 2.
Yeah, Caldwell and Hixenbaugh are still at each other, even with the lockup. That just opens up the gap and the chance for that 12 car to get the move again. As these two, even with the incidents that you see out of these two, are separatable as he's gonna make the dive on. The 63 car's been more patient. 12 car's like, nah, I'm just gonna go for it. And he sends it up the inside. He's not gonna be able to make a move there. He's gonna try and send him up a little bit into the S's. You gotta wonder how those tires are affected because of that lockup. And now all that's really done is get the 63 car to lease, and now all he has to do is try to open up a gap and worry about, okay, what am I gonna pit? What am I gonna try and make this work? As he's just starting to run away with it little by little, but the 12 car is just reeling him in. He's gonna overshoot turn 10 and heading into 11 now.
We head into turn 11. The gap will start to stagnate at about half a second for the time being, although that 12 machine is pretty much showing, I don't care that my tires are old. I'm going to keep on fighting as hard as I can. But again, I think we continue to question, because it's leaving me baffled, especially when are these guys up front going to decide to pit? Because we're getting to the point where we're about halfway to the end of the race, in terms of the third stage, that is. We'll be 25 laps to go when we complete this time by, and there's just so much opportunity to go out there on fresh tires and gain a lot as long as you come out on track, onto clean track, without a lot of slow cars in front of you. So it's going to require a lot of strategy to say, hey, I want to come in somewhere where I come out and I'm able to take advantage of those couple of laps where the tires are absolutely green and fresh, and make your car absolutely quick.
One would assume that Caldwell will be headed down the pit lane shortly. This is right about when you want to pit if you're splitting this thing up in half. Granted, of course, you guys want to green a few laps later than lap 50, obviously, but I think if you're Cam Caldwell, you've got to pit this time by. I don't think you can afford to wait another lap, because you're still running slower than Bryson Hixenbaugh. I mean, you've got worse tires, you're much more out of control, and Hixenbaugh is obviously on the better tires, a little more out of control, and is starting to set sail. You gave up that spot, concede that position for now, undercut. Try and get back ahead of Hixenbaugh. I don't think there's any other way for Caldwell to do it. You're not going to go up there and pass him again. You have to just come down the pit lane at some point. You got to do it quickly. Hixenbaugh, I think, is going to duck down the pit lane. He does. So Caldwell's race, I think, just went out the window.
Yeah, but then all decides on when the 12 car pits, and can he decide? Because now he knows, okay, he's going to pit now. Now it's time to put the hammer down, try to get that fast in lap to try and beat him on pit road to get the better pit stop. The 63 car is pretty solid on pit road, but this is the first time we've really seen green flag pit stops play out. It's going to be very interesting to see which of these two are going to have the better stop. And then the bigger question, speeding penalties, or if we're going to have a pit violation. You see the 63 car Imperial going to get those right sides jacked up. Going to change all four tires, obviously, for the final 30 laps of this, or about 20 to 30 laps of this race. As he's been on those tires for quite a bit, he's had the incredible strategy pulling out in stage 1 to put himself up there, and now he exits the pits. So now all eyes on that 12 car to see when he decides to pit.
So yeah, we talk about when is the 12 car going to decide to come down pit road, and that's going to be the battle for the lead. Looking back a little bit farther, the 57 of Cameron Stone and the 6 of Jonathan Delany also came down pit road that time. So the 57 came in ahead of the number 6 machine, and it'll stay that way. Unfortunately for the 6 of Jonathan Delany, he overshot his pit box, lost a couple of seconds there, so there's going to be about a 2-second gap between these guys as they come out of pit road. And the 57 showed that he did have superior pace at the end of the stage, so it'll be interesting to see who proves superior as those guys battle for the back end of the top 5, and, you know, they could very easily get up there and run for the last podium spot.
So Cameron Caldwell, I would imagine, would come down the pit lane this time by to try and protect himself. Yep, he will finally opt to come down the pits. I think this is 2 laps too late, though. You had to be the first car down the pit lane, I think, to win this race, whether you're Hixenbaugh or Caldwell. We'll see how it all works out. Of course, Caldwell has several seconds before he has to worry about Hixenbaugh coming up to him just yet. But I seriously think that's Caldwell's race win out the window, and I think he just handed it right back to Bryson Hixenbaugh. I don't know if he's going to be able to come out ahead of Hixenbaugh, especially if he mucks up his stop. No, he got in. It looked like he was going to overshoot it a little bit, but he made it work. It's a matter of where he comes out in relation to Hixenbaugh, though, and Hixenbaugh out of turn 11 across the start-finish line is easily going to pass Caldwell.
Yeah, and you see Caldwell now exits the pit, so the gap isn't going to be that terrible as what I thought it was. But still, you're talking about a 6 or 7 second gap, which on a track like Sonoma takes forever to get around. So what he needs right now is to hope that 63 car is making a mistake and be able to capitalize on it, or just somehow pray that a caution comes out in the late stages of this race and try and restack the field. Because right now you're about yeah, I'd say about a 5 to 6 car length gap is the gap between those two. But right now, these two are actually fighting for second, and third. At the 75 car of Logan Simmons is currently your race leader. But now the question is, when he's going to pit, obviously he's not going to keep that lead. But still, he's leading laps, so that's what the most you can ask for. You're not going to get the win. You're not going to get the trophy and all that kind of stuff. So, just enjoy your time. Go lead some laps out there and have some fun.
Hey, it's a good way to get some airtime, and if there's full course yellow, it's not necessarily the worst thing either. I mean, you'll still come into the pit road and you'll be behind the guys that decided to pit a bit earlier, but you'll be on fresher tires, so definitely not the worst call. But what I'm worried about when we're talking about the potential for full course yellow is that race control has been very careful about not utilizing a full course yellow. And it might just be because of how long a full course yellow will take at a place like Sonoma Raceway, where it could easily take like 10 minutes. So right now, we're looking at Rich Petrucco trying to climb his way back to the field after his earlier incident where he went off in turn 11, yes. So currently he's battling with that number 17 machine of Jonathan Delaney, or Christopher Hammond, excuse me, I'm getting my names confused up. So right now these guys are sitting P6 and P7, however they have not pitted yet, so it'll be a little bit difficult to determine where these guys will be fighting, but right now they're sitting right outside the top 5 position.
And you know what? These guys are all hurting themselves too, staying out on the racetrack like this. Morrison, Goza, Hammond, and Petrucco, 4 cars in a line. They're all on very old tires at this point, nearing 30 laps. I'm sorry?
Hixenbaugh slow, and there was a pass between the two.
So Hixenbaugh relinquishes that 6th place. Oh, he spun entirely in turn 3. We're going to get a replay on this. Hixenbaugh entirely spun out here, and this is just what you couldn't have happen. So this race right back into Caldwell's hands. We'll see what happens to Hixenbaugh. There it is, through turn 3, just gets sideways on that curbing, goes around, resumes pace, but not before Cam Caldwell comes by and says, see you later. I'm going to take that race lead back, at least once things cycle back out, unless they swap positions again. This is right back where we left off.
Yeah, that's the thing about those I talked about. He's going to need to pray that the 63 car makes a caution, which he did, or makes a mistake, or gets a caution. He obviously made that mistake. Now that's going to open the door for the 12 car up down to 75. He's now on pit road, so expect the leaders to change as soon as they come across the start-finish line as the fight rages on now for that race win, which is what we're hoping for here in the final 30 laps of this race. And now here comes Hixenbaugh having to do everything he did. He had the perfect pitch charge he played out. He did everything right, and then just one mistake, one fatal mistake, puts him stuck behind that 12 car again, and now he has to try and do it the hard way rather than get it done on pit road.
What I like for the 12 machine of Cam Caldwell getting a little caught up there. He's on 1 lap fresher tires, so it's not the same scenario where you had like 3, 4, 5 lap fresher tires when guys pitted right before the end of his stage. But at a place like Sonoma Raceway, that's going to absolutely pay dividends in the long run. When you have slightly fresher rubber, it's going to make it that much easier, especially when you're not, getting loose like the 63 did when he spun. That's absolutely going to cook your tires, and it's going to take a couple laps for them to get back to a optimum temperature for premium grip out there on the racetrack. Oh, and we're going to go back to the 57 machine of Cameron Stone and 17 of Christopher Hammond. So right now, this is currently for P5. However, the 57 is already pitted. So not too much of a legitimate battle that we're watching there, but it's still guys that are battling for position on the track. We're going to come back and we're going to, a side-by-side battle between Jeremy Morrison and the 75 machine there. I don't believe that is for position, though.
It is for position, but Morrison is not pitted just yet. He's still on the racetrack along with Hammond, whereas Simmons just exited the pit lane. He just got back onto the racetrack, so he's on a few lap newer tires than Cameron Stone, who is now going to get up there and pass Jeremy Morrison. So these guys swapping some spots. Granted, they're on very different sets of tires. Delaney now, he has pitted. He goes on by Hammond. That's for the 5th position. He should cycle into 5th here shortly when Morrison pits. Hammond is going to drop well down your running order by staying out this long. This is what I'm saying. In order to win this race, you've got to be one of the first cars in the pit lane. You can't rely on a caution here like you would on an oval. Hammond very sideways into the pit lane, collects that right side wall, and thankfully will continue on, but a little bit more damage than he needed to do to that number 17 car. Bends those fenders in a little bit. Morrison finally down the pit lane. I think this was as far as they could have gone, and I think this was way, way too far. If they could have gone this long from the get-go here for stage number 3, they should have reversed which end of the run they were making longer. They should have pitted earlier than later.
Yeah, well, now the question is we saw, so basically what you can do is you make these tires last about 30 to 35 laps. There's still 30 laps to go. So now the question is, can these guys make it on what they have? I would say that's not really much of a question. I believe they will. But I just raised the question, if a caution comes out, that really brings up the whole idea that those guys have made the right decision, because they can probably stay out if anything or try to risk it. I don't really see it, but still the lead right now is still the fight between the 12 and the 63. You see Eric Wineland. We haven't really paid too much attention because of what's happened, but there has been a fight going on back there between Eric Wineland, Cody Goza, Richard Petrucco, and Randy Drumhiller. Something that we've been used to seeing quite a bit. I don't even think that's Randy Drumhiller. I'm not sure who that is. I think it's a lap car stuck behind them. But still, the 88 to 31 and the 27 are putting up quite the show up there for that 9th position. Goza starting to make the runaway, but Petrucco, who spun it out of turn number 11, starting to rebound himself to try and get that top 10 finish after losing what could have been a potential win. So now he's on the back of that pink number 31 Ford as they make their way up to turn number 7. He has the run coming out of the corner. He's going to try it the long way and maybe try the crossover. Remember that we see Petrucco done by Hickson trying a lot. And so he just absolutely runs right through it, and now that's going to take him out of that. He's going to rejoin right with Jeremy Moore.
And he almost took Morrison out when he came back onto the racetrack there. I will say, before turning the back over to Trey, Wineland is on 8-lap-old tires, Goza, Petrucco, 2-lap-old tires. Morrison just came out of the pit lane along with Hammond. And in front of these guys, Kevin Steele about on the same strategy as Eric Wineland. So definitely some interesting things going on with where these guys pitted and how old their tires are.
That's why I don't like that sort of aggressive strategy out of the 27. He's been struggling to get through the field, you know, after he spun and before the pit stop, and that's just not doing himself any favors, because when he spun, he came back out around P11, P12 back out onto the track, and he's only gained a spot or two, and doing stuff like that is just going to compound. It's just going to make your tires that much worse. When you're behind a guy that's on tires that are, due to longevity, that much worse already. Although he is going to be looking for an overtake here, and I think as long as he stays consistent, he might have a shot into 7 or even sooner. 3/10 is the gap for the lead right now, but I think this is a pretty good battle right now near the back end of the top 10 right now. He might be side by side here as we head into the interlude.
So Petrucco all over Wineland, watching this battle develop. Goza starting to run away with things. That's 7th that Goza has right now. These guys battling for 8th position, though. Wineland, and Noah, you mentioned this. Wineland, we're used to talking about being out towards the front, battling for 1st through 5th, maybe. Right now, sitting in 8th place, definitely not what we're used to talking about him. Hammond very sideways further back. He takes a bit of an off-track excursion there for a moment, but he hangs on to things. Very sideways out of 6th, and he's on those fresh tires along with Jeremy Morrison. Wineland going to lose that position, though, to Petrucco, who goes off-track a bit and lays some sparks down. Now Morrison going to draw alongside of Wineland, side by side to the start of the S's. You can't do that, and he's going to have to sit right back in behind Eric Wineland. We've lost Christopher Hammond for a moment. I'm sure he'll come on back, but wow, big things happening here around position number 10.
Yeah, with races like these, you really start to see who's the more well-rounded driver. We've been talking about that for a while. We thought Pataska is obviously the guy that would have been in the catbird seat to win a race, as more cones getting abused here at Sonoma. We've seen that all race long in that pit injuries. Those cones just keep getting hit over and over and over and sent flying over the pit wall. But see, yeah, it's just something that you really notice a lot is the fact that we see more drivers who are more well-rounded, who are suited for short tracks and road courses, and that's something that Eric Wineland has been struggling with so far in this race. He's not been able to really go out for top 5 spot. You see Jeremy Morrison now going to get the pass done. Today has just not been his day. You want to know if maybe just a bad setup, or maybe he just struggles too much on road courses, but still these right turns have been really struggling with him today. Thankfully, he has the win to make him say, okay, you know what, we'll just take the point to go on to the next race and worry about the rest of the season, because there's only 2 more of these after this. But still, it's just not been the day that Eric Wineland wants to see happen. compared to drivers like Cameron Stone, Jonathan Delaney, Kevin Steele, who we talked about. Kevin Steele ran up in about the 11th to 12th spot. Finds himself in the 6th position, so he's in a very good spot to try and get good points. He already has the win locked in, just like Wineland and Hixenbaugh, but still a 6th place finish after the incredible turnaround he had at Kansas, and then Michigan, my bad. The incredible turnaround he had at Michigan, and then the incidents that he had at Kansas and Charlotte that really put him back there. As now Tommy Amos goes off track as Hixenbaugh and Caldwell try to lap him. But the fight for the lead still goes on. But still, I just got to give a shout out to Kevin Steele for having just keeping patient and just running well this entire race.
Kevin Steele has also been gifted a land grant right now. He has 30 seconds ahead of him to the P5 guy. So all he needs to do is look straight ahead right now and say, hey, I have all this clean track ahead of me. I just need to push consistently, keep consistent lap times, continue to pull away from guys like Cody Goza behind me, even though well, I say that, but then I look at timing and scoring to see that Goza is on slightly fresher tires, so we very quickly could be looking at, the 44 machine having to defend here from Goza within the next lap or two. So I spoke too soon. So it should be a fun battle to see these guys fight for the P6 position here over the next couple of laps.
Yeah, Goza's on those newer tires, and he's bringing one lap. David Fuge with him. But I really think Goza's going to bring the fight to Steele here very quickly, possibly on this lap, as we now have 18 laps to go, getting into the latter stages finally. We talked about all that great racing here at the start of stage number 3 and how we had a lot of racing to go. Finally, we're starting to see how this race is going to develop, and we're getting into those latter stages that you just had to wait on, because that battling was great earlier on, but it was just so early on in even a 50-lap run. So much racing was yet to come, and this race has really been turned on its head a couple of times. That battle for the lead, though, is still very, very close. It just hasn't changed up, though. Cam Caldwell still leading the way over Bryson Hixenbaugh, and Hixenbaugh just kind of sitting and lying and waiting, and this is exactly what Pataska wanted to do earlier on, and then that mistake out of Kerner just sent him flying, well, not even flying, sent him up and over once he made contact with that tire barrier. I think one of the bigger moments of this race for sure, if not the biggest.
Yeah, that incident really opened up Pandora's box for all these drivers, because beforehand, or Pandora, my bad, Pandora's box, I was a little bit of slip up of the tongue there. That really just opened up a lot of opportunities for these drivers. Because beforehand, it was just really Eddie Kerner. That's what everyone thought. Like, oh, this is going to be another race where Eddie Kerner runs away with it. And then we saw Dallas Pataska going through. Oh, he's starting to put a fight. And then he finally makes the move, and Eddie Kerner just struggled holding on to it for those corners. And ever since then, just look at what's happened. 3 to 4 drivers have been able to go out there, lead laps, and put their name up on the top of that board. And now we see a driver who sits 20th in points, who will win would be the biggest moment of the season for him, because that would lock him into the playoffs. So to capitalize on races like this is something that he is taking full advantage of, because he knows, hey, I might not be able to go out there and get wins in the ovals compared to Hixenbaugh and Kerner, but with races like this, where Kerner is out and Hixenbaugh is struggling, he's taken full advantage of, and now he is sitting only about 20 laps away from winning his first race of the season and punching his ticket to the round of 16.
This battle is absolutely fantastic to watch and absolutely electric right now. These guys are really not giving an inch right now, continuing to pressure each other. And I think that's the absolute beauty of motorsport, is just the factor of unpredictability. Just as easily as you could have, a favorite pull away and win a race, he could have something go awry, and then all of a sudden you have a few new guys in the fight. Eddie Kerner came into qualifying tonight. He put up a lap time that was nearly a second clear of the rest of the field. We started the race and we saw that Pataska was able to hang in there, and then he continued to hang in there after 10 laps. We thought, I was thinking at least that, nearly side by side for the lead here. But I was thinking that Eddie Kerner normally, he has a long run car and he will eventually pull away. Oh, they might be side by side here as we head into turn 7. Defensive line there for the 12. They're going to be side by side into turn 7, side by side. Maybe a crossover for the 63 as we head into the S's. He's going to look.
Oh, he's going to go around. Hixenbaugh loses it in
oversteer.
turn number 7, and that just might be it for your race win battle. Hixenbaugh just goes around. He gets to the throttle a little bit too quickly. Just a little bit overzealous here. He runs a little bit wide, trying to find a way around Caldwell, and then gets in the throttle a little bit too, liberally, and just sends that car around. Bit of a spin there for Hixenbaugh. I don't think it's going to damage the number 63, But with 16 laps to go, coming to 15 laps to go, likely no pit stop as Simmons flies into turn 10, and goes off the racetrack, a bit of drifting. I just don't know if Hixenbaugh is going to have any chance to make up those 8 seconds and get back after Caldwell. It's going to take a serious issue for new race leader, now race leader by a large margin, Cam Caldwell. It's going to take a serious mistake out of the number 12 for Hixenbaugh to be back anywhere near the possibility of winning this race. Now it's a matter of whether or not Simmons can pressure Hixenbaugh into a mistake, and the rest of these guys battling out for position. Kevin Steele, let's see, he did have... Who was it that was pressuring him? Goza. He had Goza all over him not so long ago. Now Goza sits 9th place. He's let Petrucco and Morrison go by. Wineland back into 10th. He's now in the center of your screen here with Goza, so everything's shaking up in your top 10.
Yeah, you talk about that incident with with Logan Simmons flying off in turn 10. Are you really going to overstate the fact that he, A, sent it in that deep in the corner, B, got on the sand,
Whoa!
He kept his foot in it and fishtailed it and dirt tracked that thing out of it without hitting anything or spinning out. That is absolutely amazing what the 75 just did. And I am not going to let that go unnoticed because that was an incredible save. But yeah, you talk about the 63 spinning there was no damage. The only thing that really damaged was his tire wear and and not really his ego, but his pride really, because he had such a good run going, and now this got to be a gut punch after having such the right pit strategy, spinning once that put him back there in a position where now he had to go fight the number 12, and now he's spun again. Now he's fighting just to hold on a second. So that's another race where he has something there to try and take a race win and add to his resume and get more win stickers on that car. But now all that really did is just give the 12 car a big sigh of relief and just kind of a run home to the checker flag if he can keep that car on the racetrack.
We'll have to keep tabs on the leaders right now. The gap stands at about 7.5 seconds. So if Hixenbaugh has the speed, I think he does have enough time, and of course it's just a matter of getting around the number 12 machine. So right now, yep, the gap is about 7.5 seconds right now. We were talking about Cody Goza a little bit right now. His stage just continues to go from bad to worse. He got worse coming through turns 11 and 12, and he dropped from around P8, and he's now back to P10 right now. So after, pressuring Kevin Steele in for that P6 position and being at the head of that mid-pack, he's now right in the... Well, he's actually near the back end of the lead lap. He's the third to last car in the lead lap. Only 12 cars in the lead lap right now. Some tight battles on track, though. Second and third place are still pretty tight, and then we were also watching a battle for the P6 position. Kevin Steele is pretty consistently holding pace over Rich Petrucco as he begins to climb through the field. And then behind them, it's Jeremy Morrison hanging tight in case these guys have a mistake. We go on board with Petrucco up the hill into 2.
Petrucco looks decently quick, at least compared to the number 44 of Steele. Gains a lot of time that time over turn number 2, now down into 3 and up and over 3A into 4. It's going to be really interesting to see what Petrucco can do. Those heavy braking zones are where he seems to make up a lot of time, and that's where the tires are going to make a difference. It's a 6-lap difference between these two sets of tires on the 44 and the 27 respectively. So I really think Petrucco's got what it takes here to get on by Kevin Steele. It's just a matter of time and setting him up correctly now through the carousel. They've got, he's got a lap car behind him. Then side by side they'll go. That is a lap car, I think, the number 90. But Petrucco is going to easily take that 6th position over Kevin Steele. Not even a fight. Kevin Steele knows he's slower right now, and Petrucco set him up perfectly. Went right on by him. Steele lays over, gives that 6th spot up. Kevin Steele right now, I think, just trying to hang on to a decent run. He's got a decent gap back now to Jeremy Morrison. With 13 laps to go, he might be able to milk that, save his tires, and hang on to that 7th spot.
Absolutely. All he really needs to do is just bring it home and take the points and just have a happy ending to what has been a pretty solid day for him. The fight between Goza and Haman right now, or Hammond, my bad. I keep thinking it's Haman. It's Hammond. Christopher Hammond. Those two have been fighting on for a while. It's not really too much of a battle, but those two have just been within striking distance of each other to go make passes for one another for that 9th spot. So obviously the last position in the top 10 is something that is nothing to be gawked at. It's a really good finishing position, but you want that 9th spot. And Christopher Hammond, who's still sitting the first car out without a win, a 9th place finish would be the best thing that he can get right now after everything that's happened. Just been not able to really do much to move himself up into the top 5. He's been a solid top 10 contender all day, and that's exactly what he needs for this points run that he's been
Oh, he's
having.
going to go around!
And there goes the commentator's curse. And now he spins it. He gets it going again, but he's going to have to settle for 10th. And now 11th is Randy Drumhill is going to take that away from him.
You know, maybe we should just let sometimes the visuals speak for themselves, because it happens every single broadcast where we begin praising drivers and then all of a sudden, I mean, it's even happened where leaders have, you know, as a result, been taken out of races. Oh, he goes up the hill and the mistakes continue for the 17 machine of Hammond. IORL action at Bill Io. I forget who the driver was that was leading, but we were talking about him, and then within the last 5 laps or so, yeah, he wrecked himself out, essentially. It happens, it seems to be like every race here on Pit Stop TV. Rich Petrucco has gotten by Kevin Steele for P6 in the meanwhile, as we watch him and get back on track and get back into a rhythm here.
We talked about Hixenbaugh. We watched Hixenbaugh have his issue in turn number 7, lose the lead battle, I should say, lose tabs on Cam Caldwell. He's since made up a second or more on Cam Caldwell. I think Cam, of course, looking at the current situation, can milk that lead and can definitely start saving his tires, keep himself from having any kind of issue, and let Hixenbaugh roast his stuff up. 12, now 11.5 laps to go for Caldwell over Hixenbaugh. The gap is narrowing. I just don't know if Hixenbaugh can actually get there and still have the tire left over to pass the number 12. Meanwhile, Logan Simmons starts to, well, lose Bryson Hixenbaugh by quite a bit. Now 5.6 seconds between those two drivers. And of course, Simmons joined Hixenbaugh after Hixenbaugh went for his little spin. They were all over each other at first, since those two have drifted apart.
Yeah, and as you see now, with it approaching the 10 to go mark, all it really, yeah, you talk about the fact it's been about 6 seconds of a whole race ever since that spin happened. So you know it's been kind of steady. That's exactly where they've been. They've just been even with each other, and since that spin happened, that's where Hixenbaugh is going to stay, unless the 12 car gets broadcaster's curse and loses it all in the final laps. I really don't see him losing this race. He has just been so consistent all day. He's run top 5. He capitalized with the wrecks that we talked about early on, and now ever since then he's just been running there. He's been in the race lead. He's been controlling this way this race has gone since the get-go. It has been amazing to watch. As you look around the field, Richard Petrucco holding on to it pretty well. Kevin Steele trying to take home a pretty good finish. Wayne Grassley, the first car on a lap down, running back there in 13th. Eric Wineland, the first car on the lead, last car on the lead lap in 12th. Christopher Hammond had the Linson. He's in 11th. So, you know, it's just how the way it goes. You just have to run with what you got. And sadly, with a lot of what's happened, there's a lot of retirements like Chris Awood and Brandon Pierce, Dallas Pataska, Eddie Kerner, Josh Coppernall, who I believe is actually just an admin. Brian Mabry, Jason Taylor, just all those people in between. Zach Probst, I believe, is also retired. So, you know, just exactly not what you want to see, especially for Zach Probst, who is trying to get into the playoffs, now finds himself sitting in an even worse spot than he was coming in.
Yeah, no, we're beginning to talk a little bit while we have a little bit of a lull in the action. In fact, no guys who are really within a couple seconds of each other right now. This is the first time today where we don't have guys down each other's throats battling for positions. But yeah, we have about half of the field left on the track. In fact, exactly half, because 30 cars started, 15 cars remain on the track, and we have 11 of them on the lead lap right now, I believe, as Eric Wineland is the next victim to go a lap down. I believe he is going a lap down in the process, or he's in the process, rather, of going a lap down. Oh no, he actually has a gap of about 10 or 15 seconds or so over race leader, so with a full course yellow, he could be right back in the hunt.
We've had an issue for the 75 of Simmons. I've lost track of his machine, but he's no longer sitting third place. There he is. He has come down the pit lane, and I don't think this was planned. We'll try and get a replay up and find out what happened to him. And, oh, he's going to bin it in turn 10, it looks like. Noses it into the wall, and that might be his race pretty well over. He toes from there, and I think he's just frustrated at that point. He still sits in the pit lane. Obviously, taking the toe will take some time. We might have just gone under half of the field left. Caldwell continues to lead. He's got 6.5 seconds over Hixenbaugh, and he is narrowing in on that number 31 of Wineland. Hixenbaugh sits second. Then it's Stone another 14.5 seconds back. 10.5 seconds back of him is going to be Jonathan Delaney. Just over a minute back in the race leader will be Rich Petrucco. And then 5 seconds back, you get Kevin Steele. Jeremy Morrison is a minute and 14, almost a minute and 15 back. Cody Goza sits 8th. He is a minute 23 back. Drumhiller sits a minute 26 and a half, almost 27 back. He is sitting in 9th. Rounding out your top 10 is Christopher Hammond, and then Wyland in 11th. We see him just in front of race leader Cam Caldwell. Caldwell coming to 9 laps to go, this time by.
Yeah, and Wineland not really giving him much to work with there. He's not exactly trying to be too nice to see if he's going to exit the hairpin and see if he might give it to him there. No, he's going to stay side by side with the... Very interesting to see from these two. I don't know what Wyland has to gain out of this, and I believe now he might give it. No, he's gonna maybe try to send it back to the up inside. He's not really giving him much room up the hill, so it's very interesting. Wyland not just back off and just take the lap down, but still he's putting up a fight with the 12 car, which is not what he wants to see. As now Bryson Hixenbaugh is only 5.7 seconds, so he's close to it by about 4/10 because of that incident.
You're right, Noah. The battle right now, it's for the lead, I think, because otherwise things are pretty well spread out for the most part. So the question does become, does Bryson Hixenbaugh have enough time to close that 5.5 second gap? Last lap, he was about 0.5 of a second quicker here. Of course, he does have to get past that pesky lap car of Eric Wineland, who showed that, you know, he's out there and he's out there to try to fight yet. Even if, of course, he might have been battling for the leader harder because, you know, that puts him one car as the first car lap down. But, I mean, regardless, he still could get behind that 31 machine at a part of the course where it's difficult to overtake, such as the S's, or 2, 3, and 4 before you get into the inner loop. So, yeah, things are pretty spread out right now, but nothing's over by any means.
This race is definitely not quite over. Christopher, where'd that come from? Cam Caldwell continues to lead. He'll be coming to 8 laps to go this time by, and he just continues to set a nice, steady pace over Hixenbaugh. Wineland, I think, just ran off in 10. Is he going to hang on to things? He will, but definitely slow out of the corner. And that car looking a little worse for wear, rather. The tires definitely, I think, are just eating up at this point. And he's going to be all over the nose here soon of Bryson Hixenbaugh. 8 laps to go this time by the flag stand. The gap narrows for second place, but not by enough. Hixenbaugh has brought it back from about 5.5 seconds to a little over 5. But it was 4.5 not so long ago, so Hixenbaugh is starting to fall off.
Yeah, Hixenbaugh starting to close out the gap a little bit. He's almost closed by a full second over the last lap. That's just... So yeah, Hixenbaugh's starting to pick up the pace a little bit. Cameron Stone might have been getting a little too comfortable even after getting past Eric Wineland, because now you can see those two on the same screen. He's actually closing the gap lap by lap by lap pretty fast, so Caldwell has to pick up the pace here, or else we're going to have an actual fight here in the closing stages of this race for the race win here at Sonoma.
Ever so slightly, the gap does continue to close right here. Oh, Wineland goes off a little bit here, so that could be a bit of distraction as 63 machine tries to get around him here into turn 7. Yeah, Wineland did get, as he was going through the carousel, did get a little bit off the circuit, went into the gravel. Although he's going to be pretty courteous. He gets pretty loose. Oh, and he is going to spin as we go through turn 7. So he's going to go on to 7A, where NASCAR used to utilize that hairpin type of corner before 2019. So he's going to get back going. First car lap down, and he's currently one position outside the top 10. So I'm sure he'd love to come out of here with the top 10. He's probably going to need misfortune ahead of him at this point. Closest battle on track right now. We do actually have a pretty tight battle between Randy Drumhiller and the 17 machine of Christopher Hammond for the P9 position as they head up the hill into turn 2 right now. Oh, they're side by side into turn 2. Hammond on the outside. Inside is the number 30 machine. It's going to be a pretty tight fight.
Those two side by side out of 2 into turn 3. Hammond up the inside. He takes that spot from Drumhiller. Now Drumhiller down into 10th. And the number 30 looking like he's starting to fall off. Oh, actually, Hammond going to lose the corner. And oh, Drumhiller almost made contact with the right rear of Hammond there. Hammond gets away with one. Drumhiller was quick on the brakes and very nice to let him keep going. A lot of drivers might not have gotten on the brakes quite soon enough and might have hit that 17, sent him around. But Drumhiller did a great job of avoiding Hammond right there in his misfortune. That said, Drumhiller now going to lose lots of time. That gap already up to almost 2 seconds as they go into turn number 7. Hixenbaugh has suddenly turned the wick back up. because he has taken that gap from about 5.5 seconds to 4 seconds, so a second and a half in the last lap or so. He's definitely starting to turn that weight back up on Cam Caldwell. I think he may have fallen back a little bit just to cool his tires down and is suddenly ready to start chipping back away at the race lead.
Yeah, I think he knows that he's the fastest car on the track and the one to be. And since that incident happened, just cool your tires down, cool your emotions down a little bit, get your mind back in, get your head back in the game, get everything settled down, and then stomp that loud pedal and trying to catch back up to him, which is exactly what he's doing. He has torn that lead apart. Now it's under 4 seconds, and so in the span of about 3 laps, I would say he's close to about a second a lap, and the 53 car is just going to let him on by. So Cam Caldwell is not sitting pretty right now because he is seeing Bryson Hixenbaugh get bigger and bigger and bigger as now we approach the 6 to go mark. This race is far from over, only 6 laps, but still, Cam Caldwell's race is not done. He thinks he's sitting pretty, but he's got to be careful because he's going to see that Firehouse sub 63 in his mirror. And then you talk about the fight going on between Drumheller and Hammond. They've got to be careful because Caldwell's actually catching up to them pretty quickly as well.
When I saw that spin in turn 7, Noah, I really didn't think this race would be anywhere near over because I think it was just setting up for an absolutely fantastic and you know, just furious finale here as we get here to about 5 laps to go when we come to the line this time for Cam Caldwell. So yeah, the gap is about 3.5 seconds here, and the question becomes, since it's incredibly difficult to pass here, how is Hixenbaugh, how is he going to go about trying to set up an overtake? He's been doing it pretty well here today, although there have been a lot of mistakes in the process. And I think he's shown that, you know, he can overtake in places like turn 7, but that can also be his Achilles heel. So it really does come down to, do you want to go for the pass in turn 7 or do you want to go for it in turn 11? Because, I mean, both places can be absolutely pristine opportunities, but they can also be absolutely deadly. I mean, Hixenbaugh almost got taken out when Petrucco overblew his braking zone there at the start of the stage, in fact. And then turn 7, Hixenbaugh nearly took himself out of contention when he got loose and spun on the exit of turn 7.
There were 2 times that I can think of that I thought this race was over in the last stage, in just the last 40 laps. The first, in fact, actually in the last 20 or so laps. The first time was when Cam Caldwell pitted a lap or 2 laps later than Bryson Hixenbaugh. In fact, it was a difference of 1 lap. And Hixenbaugh came out with the race lead by quite a large margin. He passed Caldwell while Caldwell was still in his pit box. I thought the race was over. I thought Hixenbaugh had this thing won. All he had to do was keep the car underneath him. And then Hixenbaugh went and threw it away when he spun out of turn number 7. Or no, when he spun rather out of turn 3, and then gave the position back up there while battling with Caldwell. I'm going to get these facts straight one day. While battling with Caldwell again, he lost it out of turn 7. 2 big mistakes since exiting the pits with a race lead. 2 big mistakes. That sent Caldwell back clear of him by, let's see, what, 8 seconds almost? Now we're talking about Hixenbaugh only being 3 seconds back with 4.5 laps to go. He is reeling the number 12 in. Now again, Caldwell probably is trying to lean off those tires a little bit, save what he's got. But if Hixenbaugh gets there, we've seen the bump and run happen on a road course before. I think of Mid-Ohio with Regan Smith winning a few years back, probably 5 or 6 years back now. That sticks up in my mind. I also think of Tony Stewart here beating Denny Hamlin as Hixenbaugh is going to go off on the S's. That may have just blown everything out of the water. He's going to take the old IndyCar straightaway down to that chicane, and that may have been it. He may have finally just written himself out of this one.
Yeah, he got a little bit too aggressive there and just went off in the essay. I talk about how that's the rhythm section. Now he's going to give all that time up, which is going to put him back even further in a hole. So Cam Caldwell now can breathe easy. As now that 63 car almost has no chance of doing it because the gap that he's torn down those last 10 laps has just absolutely reopened. So now he's going to have to push even harder to try and get around it. Weirdly enough, a lot of the drivers that Cam Caldwell's been struggling to get around have been very nice to Bryson Hixenbaugh to let him get around. So it's been very weird seeing this, as the 12 car has been having to work harder in the 63 to get around these guys and lap them, which has been making this race more and more interesting as Cam Caldwell now with 4 laps to go is approaching closer and closer to finally getting a first win in the series and locking his way into the playoffs, as all he needs to do now is just not wreck that car and just keep it consistent like he's been doing all day long.
It's a very good point, Noah, because right now he still has 2 enemies outside on the track. The number one being himself. I mean, almost every I don't think a driver out here is, free from mistake here tonight. That's why we've seen, so many guys go up and down the leaderboard like they have. We've seen a lot of guys with strong runs that have come to an end due to unfortunate mistakes. The 2 fastest guys in the field early on, their days came to an end because of one unfortunate mistake. So yeah, himself, he definitely needs to keep the car clean here over the last 3.5 laps, but he still has some lap traffic ahead of him. I look ahead of him and I see at least 3 cars within a 10-second gap, and he's probably going to come in contact, and he's probably going to have to go overtake those guys if he wants to maintain the 6.5-second gap that he has over Hixenbaugh right now. So we're going to come through turns 10 and 11, and he will take 3 laps to go this time by when he crosses the start-finish line.
Caldwell into turn 11. 3 laps to go this time by the flag stand, and the laps just keep winding down. The time keeps ticking away. Caldwell getting closer and closer to the possibility of this race win here at Sonoma Raceway. It would be a pretty big one. The In the Pits News 350 could go to the driver of the number 12 of Cam Caldwell, but this still is not over. 7.25 seconds back to Bryson Hixenbaugh is a large gap, but this number 12 is not out of the water yet. He's got to execute for 2.5 more laps. It's not at all over. He's still got a long ways to go to complete this one. 2.5 miles per lap, and man, this is his money couple of laps right here. This is for all the marbles. He's got to make sure he executes and executes perfectly. He can back off a little bit to save himself just that little bit of stress, but he has to keep going in the right direction. He cannot spin now. That would be the absolute worst thing, would throw a wrench in all of his plans. He's just going to keep this car on the racetrack as he goes wide in 7. He doesn't spin, but he does lock up and go very deep into the corner. Again, he cannot have a mistake, or he might let this race still slip away.
Yeah, you talk about like the fact that he has to make every move perfectly. But the thing about it is, when you're in a position like this to get your first win, and you have a track this big and only 2 to 3 laps to go, it just feels like an eternity lapping this racetrack, which magnifies the chances for a mistake, because you feels like every mile is like going another 3 miles just to get to that mile. It just feels longer and longer and longer. Time slows down, and you just feel nervous, and all the jitters get up to you, and that's what this 12 car's got to be feeling right now. He's so close.
Oh, a big wreck ahead of him. That's Hammond spun around at turn 1.
Yeah, Hammond's going to spin around, but luckily he's going to stay out of the way of the 12 car. Tough luck for Hammond, who had an incredible turnaround at Kansas. Now he finds himself sitting out. You see the replay. Oh, he just got loose exiting 12, and oh, he did an incredible job getting with the inside wall, but spun in and just kissed, it looks like. Yeah, just smacked into the outside wall, and that's luckily just kept away from Cam Caldwell from hitting him. That's all he really needed to do. But that, oh, you see that the 44, Kevin Steele's gone wide. That's going to allow the 12 to get around him. So that one's just smooth sailing from now, and all he needs to do is just ride around and finish this final 2 laps, and then take home the checkered flag here in Sonoma.
Christopher Hammond, before that spin, was on an absolute tear. We were talking about him a few laps ago, and he was running, I think, for like P9 or P8, and that pass put him up to P7 when he passed Kevin Steele about a lap or 2 ago. And that was a pretty odd place to get loose. So we haven't seen much of it today, but it just shows, once those tires wear, I mean, anywhere can be very lethal. We see it at like places like Atlanta Motor Speedway when you're going through the quad oval that you cannot be full throttle, and I'd have to guess that these guys are not going full throttle through turn 12 there on these very old tires, and he paid the price. Unfortunately, the price, or rather fortunately, the price is only one position on track, because he did a very good job of blocking it down and kept contact to a minimum. So he did a very excellent job of keeping his car as clean as possible.
Well, Trey,
so
I mentioned turn 12 exactly when Caldwell was on some old tires and came sideways after he'd been passed by Hixenbaugh. He came through 12 dead sideways and almost lost back out of the car. On old tires, 12 is definitely treacherous, usually a corner you don't usually talk about. White flag, though, in the air for Cam Caldwell. He's only got 2.5 miles to go up over turn number 2 this time, and Caldwell just might do it. He's got a 7.5 second gap still, but he still has to make 2 more miles to execute this one.
Absolutely. Now he makes his way to the uphill for the final time in this race. He's done everything right. All he needs to do is execute the last remaining turns as smoothly as he can. He doesn't even need to push it. He doesn't need to go for a hot lap. All he needs to do is not spin the car out and not wreck that machine. All he needs to do is just get it home, bring it home, and then you're going to block your way into the round of 16 later on in the season. You don't have to worry about Daytona. He sat 20th in the points entering this event. He's on the outside looking in, far looking in, and now in just a couple more turns, he's going to lock his way into the playoffs and get his first win here in the Galaxy Cup Series at one of the trickiest racetracks to tame, the winding circuits of Sonoma Valley.
Yep, he just has to take a couple of lefts and rights, with moderate levels of speed, and then he'll be down the hill, going to turns 11 and 12, one hairpin, and then turn 12. You need to make sure that he's careful through there. Don't full throttle it. And then he's going to be taking the checkered flag here at Sonoma Raceway, and he's going to be in the playoffs.
Cam Caldwell through turn 10 for the final time. Now into that heavy braking zone where we saw so many drivers have so many issues throughout the day. Out of turn 11 for the final time, Cam Caldwell is going to be looking up at a checkered flag. Then number 12, get around turn number 12, and he's going to win at Sonoma Raceway. It's the In the Pits News 350, and he's done it. Cam Caldwell, the Californian, is a winner in Sonoma, California. He's going to go through the grass. He's going to go through the dirt. It doesn't matter. He's done it at the end of 90 laps. He is P number 1. He started 6th at the start of the day, but he is going to end the race a winner, and what a great day for him to do it as well. Again, my mind just totally stopped. Again, the Californian winning in California, and I believe he has some kind of involvement with In the Pits News. I could be wrong, but I see them on his car a lot, and I know that he was behind the graphic and the race name for today. We came into this morning not even expecting to cover this race, and he got right on it. When we let the Galaxy Cup Series know that we were available this morning, he got right on it, designing a logo for the In the Pits News 350. In fact, we can pull this up for you as well. I'll try and get it up for you. Here we go. The In the Pits News 350 at Sonoma Raceway. He put this thing together in a very, very timely manner. He got it ready for us, and he just did a great job of executing. He was so confident when we talked to him between stages 2 and 3. I wrote him out at one point when he pitted too early. Then Hicksonbot had his mistakes, and now this guy is finally going to get to burn it down.
Absolutely, it's been a long time coming for him. He said 20th in the points, and now, just like Jimmy Johnson before him, the hometown native of California is going to be able to win it in Napa Valley and taste the wine here in Sonoma Valley as he finally gets the win to lock his way into the round of 16. He doesn't have to worry about making it on a point or closing down that gap. All he needs to worry about now is getting it and is keeping up the races, getting as much points as he can, and then worry about how to get to the round of 8. As all this has really done is close the gap down even further. Because guess what? With this move, that takes Ryan Samuelson out of the playoffs. So now he is going to be the first driver out. Move Cody Bird to the bubble. As now all this is done for everybody else who has not won a race is making it that much harder to try and make the round of 16.
When you get on iRacing, you don't have those real life sensations that make going to a racetrack so enjoyable and memorable. Such as being able to smell those burnt tires or just the sense of speed as cars goes past you. But the drama is just just as equivalent. It's an equivalent, is what I'm trying to say. It's just as exciting, and what makes it even more exciting is that everyone's in equal equipment, so everyone has a chance to go out there, fine-tune their setups. They don't have to put in ridiculous amounts of money, which could create disparities in equipment. It's just about getting the best car with the best driver ability rather, going out there and going for a win.
So Cam Caldwell would burn him down, and again, just what a great day for him to light these rear tires up after just a successful 90-lap run. I don't think we're really talking about him necessarily having the possibility for a race win. I mean, he was up there in stage number 1, but earlier on in this race, it did not look like necessarily we were talking about the number 12 as the race winner. And suddenly just something happened in stage number 2. Something clicked for that number 12. He played the strategy right, interestingly enough, even on those old tires at the start of stage 3, to just have a heck of a run to the flag. What do you say we go ahead and drag him in here? I know he's still doing some burnouts, but we're going to go ahead and drag in the Piston Broke Racing driver. Cameron Caldwell, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Cam, I know you're still burning it down a little bit, but what a run. 44 laps led. That's darn near half the event here. And a home state win for you as well.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened, honestly. Bryson was a lot faster in that run. I'm just shocked I was able to hold him off for as long as I did. He got around me. I screwed up once, and then he screwed up, so I passed him back. And then, well, you see what happened.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I had written you out a couple of times. I think the first time I wrote you out was when you pitted really, really early. I know you were so confident in your machine, but you pitted really, really late, rather. You waited for Hicksonbaugh to make the first move, and then you pitted, and it looked like you were possibly out of that thing, and then he made two big mistakes. Walk us through the thought process, first of all, to wait for him to pit first, and then how to attack when he made those mistakes.
Well, honestly, I was planning on pitting about 5 laps later, but it was either going to be that or just pit the lap after, because I just wanted to have fresher tires the last run, because, you know, I had 2 or 3 lap older tires than he did before he pit. And so he had a way bigger gap than I thought he was going to when I came out of the pits. And then he screwed up like immediately as soon as I came out. So I just took it, and I knew if I could just hold him off, he was probably going to burn his stuff up. So that's what I tried to do, and it worked.
We end up leading most of stage number 3 and almost most of the race. How does this help you out looking forward to the summer stretch? Obviously, we have another road course coming up in Watkins Glen, but just a lot of very interesting racetracks moving around the country quite a bit. Not too many short tracks, or short tracks and Sonoma rather, might be kind of similar. A lot of big speedways coming up. We go to Michigan again. We go to Pocono twice next week. We go to Indianapolis here soon. How does this set you up for your summer run? Of course, now you're locked into the playoffs. You're going to a lot of diverse racetracks. Just what does it mean for you and your number 12 team?
Well, the main point right there is that we're locked into the playoffs. My whole thing going in here was just to get points, have a solid points day, and then just come out with like a little less of a margin to the border, whatever you want to call it. But winning changes that all, so really I can just go for wins, not to worry about points racing, because all I do is just keep on racing and I'm good to go. Absolutely.
So as we watched you burn them down here, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out for a big run, a big win tonight at Sonoma Raceway?
I have to shout out my owner, or my team owner, Josh, for keeping me calm that last run. And I want to give a shout to his family, because they're going through a loss. So I'm going to dedicate this one to their family. It's
definitely a class act there, Cam. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on your win. Go soak it up with your team.
Thanks, guys.
So Cameron Caldwell, the big winner tonight at Sonoma. Noah, I'll turn it over to you with second place finisher Bryson Hicksonbaugh.
Well, Bryson, pretty much a hard-fought second-place finish, but obviously not the finishing position you're expecting to have there. What was it like battling that stage 3, trying to catch up to that 12 car?
It was just a whole lot of mistakes on my part. I really threw away any shot I had at the win in there about 3 or 4 different times. I had the lead after pit stops, and I felt like I pretty much had it. And then I spun by myself, and then let Cam get by me, and then I spun trying to get around him, and it was pretty much over from there.
Well, we saw you after that the first spin out of turn 7 that you started clawing back the race, the gap up to Caldwell. How confident were you that you could in fact close that 4-second gap that was at the time with 5 to go to try and take back that race lead?
I wasn't 100% certain that I'd get there. I had been looking at the interval at the start-finish line to see how much I was gaining. And it was small gains, like 3 or 4 tenths lap, that wasn't going to do it. And then I gained almost a tenth and a half on in one lap. And I thought I can do this, and I just pushed it to its limits a few too many times and got a little bit loose in the S's and had a course cutting penalty that I had to serve, and that was it.
Well, you also keep in mind that you had that stage 1 incident where you ended up going almost a lap down and coming back. How would you just describe the roller coaster of a day you've had from going almost a lap down, fighting for the lead, and then having the result was the second place finish?
I'd say it was probably a day filled with mistakes on track and successes in the pits. I did actually get the lead during that stage 1 caution by staying out. I wasn't too sure that I'd actually get that because everybody else came out of the pits before I passed the start-finish line. But I did get the lead back from that, so that made up for my lap 4 incident. And then just a lot of mistakes of giving up the lead. And then as soon as I get it, I try and do a strategy to get out front again, and just more mistakes on track.
Alright, and then before I let you go here, do you have anybody you want to thank for that runner-up finish here tonight, Sonoma?
I'd like to thank my teammate's spotter, Matthew Norcutt. He was helping me out during the race a little bit too. And thanks to Firehouse Subs for coming back on board. Almost got them another victory this year, but couldn't quite do it.
Alright, well, congrats on the second place finish. I know it's not exactly what you wanted, but still an incredible run out of you tonight. Hopefully we get to see more of you later this season.
Alright, hopefully. See you guys at your next race.
Alright, well, that's going to wrap it up here for Bryson Hickson. But I believe that Trey now has our third, Mr. Cameron Stone.
Cameron Stone, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, Cameron. So we did talk to you at the start of the stage, and you were in a similar situation to where you ended up finishing around, P3 or P4. And, you were telling us that, you probably needed big mistakes out of the top two, that they just had really solid pace, and they didn't have a big mistake. So I'm sure you can come out of here with a being pretty happy with the result of third place.
Absolutely. I'll be the first to tell you that, road course racing is not really my forte, especially in these cars, and they don't handle well around this place. So finishing P3 today is definitely pretty exciting.
So out there today, did you have any competitors that you really enjoyed having bouts out there? I mean, you were kind of by yourself there at the end, but there was a lot of action throughout the field for most of the day.
Oh yeah, me and Jonathan Delaney were running together for position pretty much the whole time. We weren't all that close together the whole time, but just watching the relative and seeing where the gap was right there. We did get close together a few times, and he was really clean with me. Petrucco, me and him, we battled back and forth a little bit. Simmons passed me a couple times, and he was clean. So I don't really have any bad things to say about the other drivers today. It was actually pretty good on my end.
Yeah, it seemed like for the most part, just a lot of individual mistakes throughout a lot of the field, but guys did a pretty good job of keeping clean out there. My next question was just curious, what was your method of practicing coming into tonight? Because I know you could have done like the NIS fixed or open series, or rather the open, since this is an open series, but you could have also logged a lot of laps by yourself.
Really this week I was running a lot of laps by myself. I haven't run an official race all week this week because there's just so many variables going into these road course races. I don't want to lose all that SR and I rating for running these races. Anything can happen. So really I was just turning a lot of laps in practice sessions. Daniel Fields was really good. He set up 3 or 4 practice sessions throughout the week, so appreciate him for doing that.
Yep. So there's still 2 road courses on the schedule here. Anything you can take from Sonoma going forward? I mean, it's going to be quite a while until you get to Watkins Glen in August or the Roval in October, but
yeah, this is the first time I've ever set a car up for a road course, so I learned a lot as far. Well, I mean, obviously you want to keep the car as balanced as possible, turning in both directions, but I learned a lot as far as how much weight to put forward and backwards, brake bias, how tire pressures affect everything in the car. So learned a lot with setups this week. Usually I let usually Bryson helps me with my setups every week, and you know, this week I was kind of on my own, so took a lot out of this one. Hopefully it helps us out at the Glen.
Yeah, I think it'll help that there are a lot of similarities between the two road courses. So thank you for your time, Cameron, here tonight. You had an excellent run tonight. Anyone out there you want to thank?
I want to thank my spotter again. He did a good job keeping me calmed down. You know, every time I was really close to or kind of making up ground on somebody in front of me, I have a tendency to overdrive it, and he did a good job keeping me reined in. He couldn't rein me in there when I spun off a 13, but that was really my only opportunity to win the race. If I'd have got past Caldwell there, the track position was just so important. If I could have beat him up the hill, you know, it's a possibility I can hold everybody else behind me. But he drove a great race today. Don't want to take anything away from him. Me and him had a really great battle at Martinsville where I got my win, so it's good to see it come back.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you for your time, Cameron. Cameron Stone's gonna round out the podium in P3 here tonight at Sonoma in the Galaxy Cup.
Thank you for that, Trey. Do want to thank a couple of sponsors that we've got coming up here. Of course, Permanent Makeup in Maine being added today. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. Here at Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. If you're looking for the best solutions for your PMU concerns, give us a call today to book a consultation. Ashley provides herself in providing individualized, superior cosmetic services using only state-of-the-art technologies and completely vegan pigments. However, what truly distinguishes Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine as a leader in the beauty treatment industry, there we go, is our passion for helping people and an unwavering commitment to our clients throughout the entire procedure process. The love of beauty is taste, the creation of beauty is art. You can contact us at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call/text us at 207-358-8683. Again, that number is 207-358-8683. If you visit our Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, you will see that we do monthly giveaways, and if you submit your entry, you just might win. Also, of course, then want to thank Whiplash Media, our new parent organization here at Pit Stop TV. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. For example, tonight's camera pack, made by Whiplash Media. You can contact Whiplash Media to get any of those kinds of resources, be it paint schemes. Unfortunately, we don't paint any of the cars in this series, but we've seen them in series like Lucky Dog Sim Racing, SRCA, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing with new developments such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information. Noah, before we wrap things up, I want to turn it over to you for our top 10.
Absolutely. So started all off with our race winner Cam Caldwell in number 12, securing his position into the round of 16 later on for the playoffs. Second off is your points leader Bryson Hexabah is going to finish 963 after a hard fought way to finish after starting third. Cameron Stone is going to round out with a third place finish, a strong run out of him. Jonathan Delaney is going to take home a fourth place finish at number 6. Richard Petrucco to 27 after spinning it into Gilligan's Island. He's going to take home a top 5 finish. 6 is where you're going to find Jeremy Morrison. He's going to be the last car to lead lap, as the first car lap down is 7th, believe it or not, is Kevin Steele in number 44. Finishing 8th is going to be Christopher Hammond, who came back after that rough way to finish after the spin on the front straightaway. Cody Gazza is going to have an incredible run here tonight to round out with a 9th place finish. And then Randy Drumhiller, number 30, is going to round out your top 10 a lap down.
So we'll continue and look at 11th through 20th here. Eric Wineland, we normally see him up front. It's going to be 2 weeks of, finishes outside of the top 10. He will finish 11th, first car outside the top 10. And then one of his big rivals on track is going to finish right behind him, 12th place for Wayne Grassy. We go back to Preston McRae and Tommy Amos. They're going to finish 13th and 14th, respectively. Logan Simmons had a very impressive run in the early stages. He was running in the top 5, but unfortunately, he's going to finish 15th. Chris Wood, in his second start in the series, will finish P16. Alex Monatelli, after his strong run, nearly running from the back to the front there in the start of the third stage, he will finish P17, 31 laps down. Alan Hui, his 4 fortunes will continue with an 18th place finish. Same for Daniel Fields, who also finishes 45 laps down, only completes the first 2 stages and finishes 19th. Brendan Pierce will finish in the 20th position, also 45 laps down.
Dave Fuge finishes 21st, 57 laps down, right there with Zach Probst, 22nd. Then it's Dakota Knoll, who we talked about a little bit earlier on. He finishes 23rd, 63 laps down, right there with Jason S. Taylor, 63 laps down in 24th. Brian Mabry ends up not even getting to the completion of stage number 1, finishing 25th, 81 laps down. Then it's Josh Coppernell, 26th, Eddie Kerner, 27th, Dallas Pataska, and those two had a really spectacular run in turn 6. I still can't believe what I saw there between Kerner and Pataska. Kerner ends up 27th, Pataska 28th, then it's Mucci in 29th, and Nolan Hodgson rounds out your field, never taking the green flag. That will conclude our coverage tonight of the Galaxy Cup Series in the Pits News 350 at Sonoma Raceway. We here at Pit Stop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Join us again Wednesday as the Sodak iRacing Sprint Car Series crowns a champion at Lanier Raceplex, and on Thursday when the SRCA Pro F2000 Series follows suit, ending their season at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/pitstoptv or on Twitter at pitstoptv_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, and on YouTube by searching Pit Stop TV. For Pit Stop TV, this has been Noah Carmichael and Trey Shuttlesworth with me on the call tonight. I am Andrew Cardinale IV, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.